Hey guys, I'm Max Laferrière. I played Ghostface in Scream 6, and you're watching Craven Something Scary.
Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, visitors, subscribers, patrons, and Cravenites. Welcome to Craven Something Scary, where it's all horror all the time. Well, guys, this is a very special night, and it is one that has been in the works for quite some time. As you guys know that have been here for a little while, I had to reschedule this for different reasons. On my part, my part, not on Lee's part, but Lee has been so gracious to be flexible, and he's just been gracious to come back, and we finally have made this thing happen, and I'm very excited about that. And so, guys, tonight it is happening right now. We're having the very first original OG Ghostface from Scream 1996. It just seems surreal to say it here on the stream. Wes Craven's original Scream. It's going to be amazing. And Lee's done a lot of other things too that we're going to get into, Wes Craven films as well. So it's going to be an amazing night. I encourage you now to start submitting your questions for Lee. As always, your super chat questions will move ahead to the front of the line. We'll get to as many as possible, but you guys know with the limited time that we have and with all the questions and conversations we're going to have, it's impossible to get to everyone's questions. It's just not enough time. So don't take it personal or be upset if we don't get to your questions, but we'll do the very best that we can. Remember, super chat's your best way. It gets it up to the front, and I promise you this, we'll not end this stream until every super chat is covered. That you have my word on, okay? But we'll try to get to as many as possible regardless. All right, guys, let me just say this before I bring them on. I want to read something. I want to read some movie titles out here for you guys, and I want you to listen to this. Check this out: The Terminator, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Shocker, The People Under the Stairs, Scream, Blade, Scream 2. You know what? Need I say more? Guys, the list goes on, and I'm serious when I say that. I could go on and on. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the channel. It's my honor and my privilege to bring on the original Ghostface from Scream 1, Mr. Lee Waddell. Lee, welcome to the channel, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Hey, everybody out there tuning in. So thanks for joining us tonight. I'm sure we're going to have a bunch of questions. We're going to talk about a bunch of stuff. So
yes,
jump in here, ask your questions, and let's get into it. Let's have fun. Let's see where the rabbit hole goes.
Oh yes, I'm so ready. I'm so ready, and it really is an honor. Just to let you know, Lee, a little bit about me, and just in case you can't tell by my channel name, Wes Craven is my favorite filmmaker and director. He's someone that holds a very special place to me as a fan. Never met the man, never had the honor to meet him, but I know him through his work and his films, and for me, I just love all of his work. I don't know what to say. I just hold him in very high regard, and every person that I've spoken to this point that has been in a film that he wrote or directed has always had the same theme about Wes of how amazingly kind and humble, and just has never had anything to say about him but good things, and just very respectful of him.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that because I was with Wes. I did like every Wes Craven movie from Nightmare 1 was my first one, all the way through Scream 2. I think there might have been one or two in there that I wasn't on, but I did the majority of that run. Tony Caesar, who was Wes's stunt coordinator, a second unit director, who brought me into the business, so he was a mentor to me. He brought me and got me in the door with Wes, and it was a great run.
Wow, no doubt, no doubt. And I do have some questions about some of those movies you just mentioned in a little bit to get into. Before we get into some of these movies, and we are going to spend a lot of time on Scream because that happens to be my favorite franchise. Scream happens to be my favorite film, regardless of genre, of all time. And so naturally, I want to spend a lot of time talking about that with you. But before we get there, I would like to know, because this always fascinates me, Lee, is the origin story. You have an incredible body of work for both film and television. And might I add, I saw that you worked on a television show that I personally really enjoyed, Father Dowling Mysteries.
Yeah. Wow. That's man, that's a deep dive on the old resume there.
Yes.
That was that's ancient history. I think that was in black and white. So
It was a great show, man. I used to watch, I think I saw every episode of that show. And when I
yeah,
was browsing through your work history on IMDb and looking at your impressive work, I said, Father Dowling Mysteries? No way. That is amazing. So
yeah.
hats off to you for that. That's bonus points in my book.
Wow,
That
thanks,
is-
man. That's God, I forgot all about that one until you brought it up.
Well, let's go on back because I know that obviously Nightmare 1, you were with Wes there, but take us to your origin story, Lee. How did it all begin for you? I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, so here's I grew up as a horror fan. I grew up on black and white, mainly Universal, right? Universal Monsters.
Okay.
And so I'm a horror fan just like everybody else. And it was by blessings and grace that I obviously did a lot of horror in my stunt career, which was really cool. And so when I first wanted to get into the film business, we're talking early 80s here. My first film extras role, so I could get on the set to go meet the stunt coordinators and the stunt guys and keep my mouth shut and learn and listen, was John Carpenter's Christine.
Ooh,
1983.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
And,
sir.
I'm just this little snot-nosed kid wanting to break into the stunt biz. And so that was my first official extras work on that first John Carpenter. And I kind of knew who John was, but I didn't really know the depth of who he was at that point. I'm like, oh, John Carpenter. Yeah. Okay. Right. Well, and I think the stunt coordinator was Terry Leonard, which is an icon. Right. And Terry went on to do just big, bad movies. Indiana Jones, right. Did some fantastic stuff on that.
Wow.
So, and like a good bit of my Dick Warlock was on Christine. And so all these really iconic stunt coordinators, stunt men who those are the guys that I wanted to be. Those are the guys I wanted to work for. So those are the guys that I was hustling back in that time frame in that chapter of my movie life. So yeah, that was my first. Wow. That was the first stepping off point right there. And I sat there and sat up into the grandstands on the scene where they're doing the football game and sat there and just watched and did my job as an extra, which wasn't a big deal. We were just cheering at a football game, but it got me on the set. And I learned, and that was the motivation. That was like the spark right there. I'm like, okay, what's the next move? We just kept going down the line. And 10 years later, I was an overnight success.
Hey, man. Well, but all those steps along the way, though, you were demonstrating what you were capable of. And when I look over at the growth of all of those films and how you worked your way to these huge blockbusters, man. I mean, incredible, right? Just amazing. Till you get to Scream and you get to, I think even Face Off was in there. I remember seeing.
Yeah, Face Off and the Blade series. And,
yeah.
I went and doubled John Malkovich for a few shows, so
yeah,
got in with him and did Wesley Snipes obviously with Blade, but then I was his safety on U.S. Marshals. So yeah, I had a real great career. Super blessed to be on big shows, and that's really cool to be on big shows. But big shows are fun. But those littler budgets like Scream, Wes Craven style budgets and movies, I think those were more fun. I think those are more fun.
Wow. Well, hey, real quick, guys, we do have our first super chat of the night. So, as I mentioned, we moved to the front of the line. Joe, my good buddy Joe over at Dreaming Insomniacs. Hey, what's up, buddy? Coming in with a $2 super chat. Thanks for your support, Joe. Happy to see you, Stephen and Lee. Stoked for this. All right. Well, Joe, guys, and guys, everyone in the chat, if you have not subscribed over to the Dreaming Insomniacs, go check out Joe's channel. And you know what? After this, you can go see Lee again and get some more great interview time with Lee over on the Dreaming Insomniacs.
Yeah, it was. I went and did his podcast a little bit earlier this week, right? So
yes,
we had talked about you in this one. I'm like, well, pop on in and we'll give him some grief and have some good laughs at it. So
that's great.
Him showing up.
Very cool. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate your support as always, buddy. All right. Now, I have to ask you, 1984, I'd like to talk to you about your first experience working on a Wes Craven set. How did the whole Nightmare on Elm Street project come to your awareness? Like audition, role, how did that come about for you? And how did that interaction begin?
Right. So, like I said, Tony Caesar, Wes's second unit director, stunt coordinator. He was, he and he'd taken me under his wing and was showing me the ropes. And I knew that he was starting this film, and I had proven my chops, so to speak, at that point. And so Tony brought me in to hang out a little bit and kind of shadow him and help him out. This kind of ND stuff, nondescript, right? So, move a pad, do this. Let's kind of back him up a little bit and do the menial task, right? When he was doing what he needed to do. So that's how I slid in there. And I really, I had met Wes at that point, but only like, hey, Wes, this is Lee. He's up and out, blah, blah, blah. And he's making a movie, so he's busy, right? Sure. I want to stay out of his way. And then what really put me on the map with Wes was that we did a big fire burn on that movie. So if you guys remember when Freddie is in the basement and he gets caught on fire, right? Runs up the stairs and all that stuff. Well, that was Tony Caesar, and who was a fire specialist, and he did all the big burns. I mean, he did some epic stuff, and he's the one who taught. And I did a lot of fire in my career, but he's the one who taught me how to do that safely and effectively, and all the tricks. And so I was in charge of that scene because Tony's getting burned up. There's no way he could coordinate and do all that. So I'm like, he gave me which was a big risk on his point, because here I am, an unproven snot-nosed, stuntman, and he gave me the reins for that scene, So it was really, it was an honor and a pleasure to do it. It went off without a hitch. One of the people, here's one that most people don't know, is that the original script and how we rehearsed it was he comes out on fire, right? Comes around the corner, goes up the stairs, right? Remember that scene, everybody?
Yep.
Goes upstairs, the door opens up, hits him. Well, in rehearsals, the way we talked about it was scripted. He was supposed to get hit and kind of go down there. And I was on the fire extinguisher at the bottom of the stairs. We had one up at the top of the stairs behind the door. Well, he takes the hit and he comes down the stairs perfectly on script. Well, when he gets towards the bottom of the stairs, he's supposed to just stop. I put him out, cut, we get out of the scene. He's feeling good. He starts to get up and go back up the stairs.
Oh,
right. I'm looking at my mouth. I'm like, hey, I didn't know this. And so then he goes down and taps out. But yeah, it was like I was coming. You can't see me, but I was actually already in motion behind the camera, right off to the left of the camera. I'm coming up the stairs to get him because I didn't know if he got knocked a little bit silly when he got hit with the door.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I don't care. And I hosed him out and it all worked out great. Yeah. So he improvises in the middle of a major burn. I'm like, hey, it'd been nice to have the note on that one.
For sure. Oh man, that's some that's potentially dangerous stuff, man. I mean, that's
out of all the stunts I have done and trained to do, the ones that really get a hold of you big and bad are anytime you have to do a high fall, right? I don't care if it's 6 feet or 60 feet. If you don't do that one right, you're going to get hurt. And fire. If it gets away from you or gets in front of you, it happens fast. You go from, it feels good to like I'm on fire and I'm burning in about, less than 1/10 of a second. It's
wow.
Yeah.
Man. And I know there's safety precautions and all, but when something's happening that quick, right? I mean, even with that, damage can get done, right? I mean, that's very dangerous. That's
absolutely, that's not like you're going to get this little owie. That stuff when it's that's bad. That's bad.
That's bad.
So,
Yes.
fortunately, I never got on the receiving end of that too
Woo.
much.
Oh, that's good. Oh my gosh. Um, hey guys, we got another super chats come through. All right, Sarah Campbell, my good friend Sarah, coming in. Thank you for your $5 for your support of the channel. Says thank you for being here, Lee. Okay, being a part of so many iconic projects, you are adored by so many. Is there a particular fandom that stands out to you? Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a great question, right? Um,
Yeah.
you know, I don't have like, so like if someone goes, "Hey, what did you really like doing?" I say I liked my work on Scream because Scream 1. Scream 2
Mm-hmm.
was fun, but Scream 1 is where we gave, you know, life to the character of Ghostface. And that
Right.
was great. And that was with Wes Craven and I and myself, Tony and myself sitting down and him actually physically talking to me and go like, "This is what this guy's about." Right.
Mm.
So that's a real
Wow.
big checkbox. I think I really enjoyed my work on Lost World. When I rode the dinosaur on that one, got ripped out of the Jeep. That was, that's another big,
Yeah.
hairy stunt that's worth the wall, so to speak. I have a wall. I used to. I don't have it anymore. But back when I was working, I used to have a wall where I'd put stunts that were like, "Yep, that one goes on the wall." Big, fun stunts, right? And
Yeah.
getting eaten by that lizard was one of those.
Wow.
And that was a pretty cool one. So I liked it. And I had a great career. I did a bunch. So
Yes, you did, and in some of these movies, I would love to find out maybe like that's a scene there. We know that's you. Like when you watch the movie again, there's Lee. That just adds a little extra sauce, if you will, to the movie
right.
when you watch it. I love that.
Yeah.
Sarah, thank you for your super chat support and a great question for Lee. That was awesome. And also, we have another one that's come through from Hollywood Guy, my good friend Hollywood Guy, with the $5 super chat. Thanks, buddy. Says, Mr. Lee, how was the rehearsals like for Scream? And that actually ties into a question I'm going to ask you later about a particular scene, but we'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and let it go here also. How many takes did you do? So like in general, I guess.
So Scream 1, I assume that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
The opening sequence I did with Drew.
Mm-hmm.
I think we might have rehearsed one. Usually everything was a 1 take or a 2 take deal, max.
Okay.
And so we might rehearse one, and then all of that evening, we never went past the 2 take. It wasn't like every setup was 2 takes, but I remember, I think, when I chased her down, I think we did a rehearsal, and then we shot that in one. When I was choking her, we did some old school on that. And actually, the behind the scenes on that is when I was choking Drew and she's on the ground. I'm choking her, right? We did that old school style. And basically, I was pulling my hands away from her because I'm up on China. I'm 200 pounds. I'm up on her and giving her some energy to work with. And I'm actually pulling my hands away from her because dynamically it looked like I was choking her sideways, right? And she's pulling my hands towards her. Right? So
Okay.
if we slipped or if something went wacky, I'm coming off and away from her. I'm not piling into her. So that was how that was really shot. So
Interesting.
Yeah, but you can't tell because there's still muscle
No.
it's still dynamic. It's still muscle tension.
Yes.
But that way it wasn't. We took we just hedged our safety that much more by shooting it with me pulling away and her pulling me in.
That is really cool, Lee. I have never heard that before. That's awesome.
That was one of those old stunt tricks from back in the day. It's been around since movies have been made. So yeah, most everything we shot was did a rehearsal and did it in one.
Wow, that's what, man. And I guess that was also Wes knew what he was looking for too, right? Like he knew knew what he was.
Very, very particular.
Yes.
And I mean because we might be doing a shot or I'd rehearse a shot, and the way that he already had it visualized in his head and what he wanted to see, and I could maybe if we did one, he goes, "Yeah, that's all good, but do this." I'm like this little nuance at the beginning of it, or maybe where I'm hitting a turn or something like that, or how I moved. Super subtle stuff.
Wow.
But he wouldn't settle for anything less than what he saw. and he was very gracious about it. He would never,
Mm-hmm.
you know, he wouldn't bark at you or just like, hey, try it this way for me. I'm like, okay, whatever. I mean, okay. You know, I
Sure.
wanted to please the man. He was a director. So,
Oh man, so cool. And I guess, like you say, when you did that, he saw it, and that was it. He had what he wanted and moved on.
yeah, he didn't do a whole lot. Oh, one for insurance stuff. Nope.
Right.
Nah, he'd hit the can and be gone. It was great.
Oh wow. Hollywood guy, thank you for your support and your question. That was great. And just real quick, Wendy sent in a $2 super chat. Now I don't see a question or comment, Wendy. So if you have a question or comment, do please put it in the chat so we can get that on the screen for Lee. Otherwise, if you were just sending in to support the channel, thank you. Very much appreciate that. All right. So let's see. I wanted to also talk to you now. Before we get to screen, because I promise we're getting there, guys, and we are going to get there and spend some time. But I have to ask, because I have Lee here, I have to ask also about a film that is one of my favorite Wes Craven movies. It's very underrated, in my opinion. And I did a movie watch party last August, because every August I do Wes Craven month, right? Because that's the month he was born and he passed.
Yep.
So we do watch parties here for a bunch of Wes Craven movies. We celebrate his life. It's just really
That's great. I love that. So,
yes, it's a tribute the whole month. So
make sure you reach out next month.
Oh, seriously? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm super busy, super blessed to be working a lot next month as far as doing conventions. But if I'm around or available, or just even if I could just grab the cell phone and say hi to everybody, you know, we'll
yes.
I'd love celebrating Wes. I miss him.
Oh man, let me tell you, that would be, you know what would be amazingly, and this may not work with your schedule, but if we could find a time and day to work that does fit your schedule, I'm going to do a watch party for Scream, where we're going to watch the whole movie. And man, if you were able to attend that watch party, it would be like Christmas on this channel for me and all of my channel members. It would be amazing.
Let's try to coordinate calendars to make that happen for everybody. That'd be great.
Oh my gosh, guys, you just hear what he said. Lee is going to we're going to try to make this work for him to come next month in the Wes Craven month, to literally watch Scream with us, and he can share the insight throughout the movie and on the scenes. Lee, that's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah,
literally,
hopefully we can make that. I'd love to do that. That'd be a lot of fun.
Oh my gosh. Okay. We're going to make that whatever time we have to do it. I don't care if it's 6 a.m., if it's midnight. I don't care, Lee. Whatever we got to do, make that work. Okay. That's so kind of you. Seriously. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Now, this next movie, though, I'm really curious to find out what you did on this film, because I enjoyed this movie it was released in 1989. It's Wes Craven's Shocker. And Wes wrote the film, directed it. And tell me what your experience was on this film, working on Shocker. Just curious.
Yeah, I mean, Shocker was a lot of fun. I had fun on every Wes movie, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Even the pressures when we were doing Scream 1 was just, I mean, the first 2 weeks of shooting were just, we were just a grinder. Wes was under huge pressure. So, but we still had fun. We were still making a movie.
Mm-hmm.
So Shocker, that was, what's Mitch Pileggi?
Mitch Pileggi, yes, sir.
Yeah. See, it's been a minute. I remember that one still. He was a super fun guy to work with. You know, on that one, I think I did some ND stunts, nondescript stunts. And then once again, I was in and out of there just helping out, because there was a lot of little stunts on that stuff, right? There was always some kind of trip, fall, action, break, this whatever fights. And I was always throwing pads around and taking care of shop while Tony was doing his thing. And so we had a good time. I enjoyed the film, you know. It was, I think you're right. I think it was underrated, you know, but me being biased, Wes was underrated in my opinion. Right. So
that's true.
I don't think he got the accolades that he deserved until well after he passed away.
100% agree. And it's really a shame. And I'm not going to get into the politics of the Weinsteins and dimensions, but I'll just say this. There was so much heavy-handedness on the part of the Weinsteins dealing with those movies that Wes made, especially, with the later sequels, Scream, Cursed. And I'm like, you have a legend in here and you are literally telling him how this movie should be done. And do you not even realize what you've got and who you have in your midst? Let the man make the movie. And it just drove me nuts, Lee. And I'm like, if they had just stood back, could you imagine? And I still think those movies are great. I really do. But I'm just wondering what we would have seen if they would have just
who
backed
knows?
away.
But that was not just West. That is how this industry is. Even to today, that's how it's cut and made. And everybody wants to throw their DNA in. In fact, West taught me this really great lesson way back in the day. He goes, and we were talking in shop one day, sitting around the set or doing something, and he told me, he goes, yeah, when you make a movie, you have 3 movies. I'm like, how's that? He goes, well, you have the movie of the script. So when you read the script, that's one version of the movie. He goes, then you have the movie that you shoot and physically put it in the can. He goes, and then you have the movie that you edit and then it actually gets released. So there's 3 different processes, according to Wes, when he would make a movie. And usually what he started with on the script did not translate to screen quite often. So it was very interesting. And I'm like, yeah, I could see how that happens. And the second and third version he alluded to everybody else putting in their DNA.
Oh man, I'll tell you. So just to let everybody know, on the platform I'm streaming here on StreamYard, for some reason the chat comments has ceased updating. And this has never happened to me before on a live stream in almost 2 years. Now, the good news is I can still see the chat comments on my actual streaming window. So we're good.
Good.
We're okay. So no damage done. I just cannot put your chats on the screen. That's the only impact. But I can read them. So we're okay. All right. We're okay. So it just may be a little bit different here, but all is well. We have a super chat from Wendy here that says, to Lee, you were awesome as the original Ghostface.
Thank you. I love that. And, I absolutely loved it and humbled by it. And, I'm very blessed and I take it very seriously, as much fun as I have doing Ghostface stuff, that, I get to, and in a sense, help Wes carry on in the sense. I love that I gave birth with Wes and that direction to that character. And it was really neat to see, the first 2 or 3 films, Ghostface was doing okay. And then he kind of went off the rails. And then I really like how he was portrayed in 6, especially the way the stunt guy, Max.
Yes.
He kind of got back to the roots. And,
he really did. I was able to meet him last month here on the channel. I brought him in, and I think he stayed. He stayed on the stream for over 2 hours, and we just talked. And and one of the other actors also, Jason Cavalier, who's a stuntman as well. And I agree. His portrayal of Ghostface, interpretation of him, was very brutal, menacing, intimidating is the word. Very intimidating. But yeah, it's interesting when you watch all the Scream films. It seems like every performer in the costume has a little different feel, which they should. There's different feel to each of them. They're uniquely their own. But I will tell you, and Alan Robinson did a great job in 2.
Yeah, I like how Alan played him.
Yes, he did great. Had a chance to chat with him, and it was great. But I will tell you one thing, Lee. The performers that I've met so far that did play Ghostface, in different films, have a very really genuine respect for you as the original Ghostface. I
appreciate that. That's nice.
They really do. They very much respect you and and what you brought to that character in the costume. And
well, that's great to hear, and I'm humbled by that, because I was just a good old working stunt man. I wasn't, I could do a little bit of everything, enough to get away with it and not hurt anybody and hurt myself. But the stunt guys now are just so talented, man. Those guys are just, and the girls too. I mean, they just do stuff
Yeah.
that is just unheard of.
Yes.
I guess the
Yes.
flip side is how many are just good old all around stunt guys, right? There's only a handful of me, I think, in today's modern stunt that could really do it all. You got, I mean, because my generation, I mean, we had to do it all, right? You had to be,
That's
you had to
true.
be, you had to have some air sense. You got to be able to go upstairs, do some high work. You got to be able to play with cars, trains, motorcycles, all of it. You had to be a well-rounded guy, and I happened to be that guy. So I was very fortunate to where I got in the film industry. But then you get guys that are just could do it all, and they could do it in their sleep, upside down on one hand. And I'd just be in awe. I'm like, how do you do that? And why are you that good? So yeah, it kind of digressing back to what we were talking about just a minute ago. When Wes sat down with me before we rolled a frame, scene one, take one, day one, and I said, Wes, tell me about this character. What is it? What is he? What's he do? And we kind of developed it and whatnot. But the words that really stuck with me that Wes told me directly was, Ghostface moves like a phantom. Okay. Phantoms move with precision and aggression and quickness and authority. They don't trip over their own feet, right? They go from A to B to C quickly. Boom, boom, boom. And so that's how I played the character, and that's how I portrayed the character.
Yes, that's awesome.
And Wes was pleased with that, I guess, because I got to come back in number 2 and do some more. So
yeah, and I'm looking forward to talking about that in a minute about 2, because I know Alan did a lot of like the opening scene and a lot of the scene with chasing Gail in the studio and things, and I would love to hear in a minute when we get to Scream 2 about what you did there too, so that way when all of us here in the community and myself, when we rewatch 2, we'll know there's Lee. Like we can look for her and know there you are. It just makes it
absolutely
such a cool experience.
We'll go around there, and there's some behind the scenes stuff that I've never said before or whatnot. So we'll go down there. We'll see what pops out. Let's just keep going.
Okay, guys, get ready. More exclusives coming up. Real quick, one of my good friends, Carbonite Jedi, excuse me, Michael, has a question. He said, what was the general emotion on the Scream set? Was it like everyone was there to do their job, or did you all kind of have a feeling this was something special that it would become such a classic?
For my take on it, we were all on the set and we all had a job to do, right? I'd worked on several Wes's films, and we all have fun, and let's go bang out a movie and let's just keep going. Not only did I not think it was going to be special, I mean, I didn't even think it was going to get made when we first chatted about it, way well into pre-production. There's I'm like, they're not going to let you make this, And I had a very limited exposure to it. That was just me and Tony talking way back in the day. And what people don't realize, that Wes was under super amount of pressure that first couple of weeks of shooting. I mean, we were shooting nights, and then he would edit all day, get about 2 hours sleep, and he did that for weeks. So he was under the pressure a ton. I mean, the studios were coming down on him. The city didn't want us filming, none of that stuff. And hey, there's a great shot. Look at the K&B, right? That's the original mask.
That's the original one. Yes.
Yeah. And if I had any inclination that this was going to be such a great blockbuster and do so well, I would have stolen that mask. I'll definitely confess to that. That mask would be sitting on that wall behind me right now. So, yeah, if I had any idea years ago that this thing was going to get so wacky, and here we are, pushing 7, not quite yet, but pushing 7 films later in the franchise. Absolutely, I would have backed up my car to I would have just taken the whole wardrobe to the trailer home.
You better believe it. Well, while you mentioned that, I'll ask you, were you able to keep anything from that film? Any of the
not from one,
not from one.
Okay, and I wasn't so inclined to. I mean, let's go. And I'm like, oh, it's a mask, whatever. So here's how big of a dork I am about Scream at that time. All right. And all the fans could jump in here and either defend me or beat me on it. You know, like they're going like, oh, you changed mask like halfway through the scene. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? So we went from a K and B to the original Gen 1s, which were production modified. And I had no idea. No idea.
That's awesome.
It was just a white mask. All I know is that they were hot and you can't see out of them. That's all I cared about. And, and all of them kind of work the same. This is like they're miserable experiences. And I'm sure there's a bunch of people out there that cosplay in these things, right, that are tuned in, and they could attest. It is not a pleasant experience.
I can imagine. I'm telling you. Yeah, everyone I've talked to has said this. They've also said things like you can't see, you can barely breathe. And yeah, it's like impossible. And you're in this hot robe on top of it.
It's, you know, so cosplaying, they understand what it looks like in that mask and feels like and all that stuff. But now couple that with you're actually trying to make a film, do your stunt, hit your marks, all that, right? So there's Wes and I. This is when we were, I don't know if I was getting ready to go out and kind of tackle Drew, or this might be the shot where I put my face through the window.
The window. Okay. Yeah.
There's a story in that within itself. So
yeah, there is. I've heard a rumor, and Lee, I think you'll be able to definitively.
I will definitively do it because I have an idea what you're going to ask. So let's go.
Okay, I think you do. There's a rumor for the longest that says that Wes Craven put the mask on and was the one in the window that either smashed his head through it or withdrew there in that scene when she had the phone at the window. That was Wes. Can you straighten that out for us?
Yep, and I will, not only will I straighten it out, I will have Tony Caesar. Tony Caesar could verify it because he told me about it afterwards. So I had done that scene, right? The whole head thing through the window, all that. And there was something that Wes didn't like about it. And that's not a personal dig about it, but it was either the timing or the way the light hit it or whatever. But he didn't particularly like my take, which my ego hates to hear that from Wes because all I wanted to do was please the man. So they went back. And I think I was on hold, so I wasn't on set that the next night or the 2 days later or something like that. And so Wes goes, "Hey, let's reshoot this." So Wes puts on the mask and the robe, reshoots that same scene, right? Puts it in the can. So now it comes time. He looks at it in dailies, likes his less than mine, puts mine back in.
Okay.
That is, take that one to the ground, boys and girls, because that's how it went down. So I don't care who said what and where, I was there.
There it is.
So was Tony, and so was Wes. And so that was the running joke because Tony had told me about that. I'm like, oh man, I'm so bummed that he didn't like what I did. Right.
Yeah.
He goes, well, here's the kicker on it. He didn't like what he did less. And then he put me back in the film.
That's awesome.
But yes, he actually put the mask on and the wardrobe and put his head through the window. So
my goodness,
it was the real deal, man. He stepped up, and I don't know if he got himself an adjustment. I don't know if Tony did that or not, but I hope he did. So that's how that went down. So that is me back in the window and the telephone shot.
So what we see is indeed you busting through. Okay,
yeah, that is.
That's awesome. Well, kudos to Wes. He actually did it. So the rumor is true, but it did not make the cut.
Yeah, the rumor is true, but he ended up on his own editing room floor, and he picked me up off the editing room and put me back in.
I love it, man. All right, guys. Hey, we got another super chat here. Again, sorry I can't put it on the screen. I don't know what's up with StreamYard, but it's okay. I'll read it out loud. We have it here from Charlie. What's up, Charlie? Sending in a $5 super chat for the channel. Thank you. Yeah, Lee, his question, or Charlie's question rather, is, what was your favorite thing about being Ghostface, and how often do you casually drop in that you did scream?
I'm still very humble. And you got to remember, I'm an old school guy, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't flex on that at all. If somebody knows, then they bring it up. That's fine. I don't avoid it, but I don't throw that out as a badge, and I did my work and I was appreciated to do what I did, and I loved what I did, and it's all cool. So I very seldom does that come out, if I'm somebody and they know it and it comes up in conversation, that's fine. Or if it's like a friend of a friend, like, oh yeah, I know the guy that did that, and it might be 2 or 3 people, 6 degrees of separation, right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, can you get him to sign me something? Yeah, sure, right? That's fine. But I don't walk into the coffee store and announce. I'm way too humble for that, and I don't like that. I never have. So it goes against my grain to announce. And
Sure.
so, what was the front half of that question? I want to make sure I answer.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. It says, what was your favorite thing about being Ghostface?
Oh. So when I was actually portraying Ghostface, I enjoyed working with Drew because I had worked with her on a show or two before that, and it was fun to be working with her again. And the thing about her, she's a consummate pro and super personality. I mean, you see what you get. I mean, and she's she's a delight to work with. So I enjoyed working with her again because she was one of the cool ones, the good ones. She was easy to work with, made me look good. Didn't throw me under the bus on anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoyed bringing that character to life with Wes, and I enjoyed the work with Drew and Wes and Tony and all. It was just the typical Wes Craven family. So I enjoyed that part of it. It was a lot of fun.
And I know that Wes traditionally, whatever word you want to use, routinely, he was very loyal, and those that did work, he would routinely use them. Right, he had a crew for many years. He would use over and over again, which is awesome.
Yeah, very little turnover.
What's that?
There's very little turnover in that.
Yeah.
In the Craven family, filmmaking family.
That's so awesome. And I'm sure that with that being said, when you show up to a Scream after you'd been on so many Craven films and knowing so many people, it was like a homecoming, right? It was like getting back with friends again. Everyone knows their roles and the personalities and kind of like what to expect, right, from each other.
Absolutely. Yeah. And back then, that's when did we shoot that? 95. So I was really hitting my stride on my career. So you'd bounce from show to show and do whatever. And be great because I'd go in for maybe a day or maybe even a week, and I'd still know people crew wise, not just the stunt guys. I know the special effects guy, or maybe I know craft service or the AD or the grip, whoever. So when you kind of, the same people work all the time. They might be on a show for a year, but maybe you worked on that show for a week, and then here you are 2 years later, and you see them again. So it was really cool to come across. It's always fun to come across folks that are cool and fun to be with, and great working environment, and work with them again. Even maybe if you don't work with them directly, maybe you just get a chance to say hi and have coffee in the morning because they're off doing some other rig job or setting up. But that was really fun to do that.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so cool. And then real quick, we got another super chat from Joe over at the Dreaming Insomniacs for $2 super chat. Thanks, Joe. He says, I'm watching the original Screen while I'm listening to you.
I love it. That's great.
That is really cool.
That's cool.
Oh man. Now, there's also while we're talking about Scream now, we're gonna park here now on Scream because there's just so much here, and of course, I'm gonna be respectful of your time. I know we talked about doing an hour, so I'm gonna be very respectful of that. I don't want to.
And that's great. If we go long, we go long. I really want to make sure everybody gets their questions and I have time to answer them. That's
okay. Well, that's very
it's really about. That's what it's about. It's about those crazy fans out there that I love, being a part of that, and they were so welcoming. Yes. It's an honor to be welcomed into the Scream Nation, as I call them, and much less the horror fan base, because I am a horror fan. That's where I started. I was watching black and white horror with my dad at 5.
That's great. Well,
there was a question earlier about would you let your kids watch it? I'm like, I didn't let my poor boys. They grew up. I would take my Scream 2 mask, which I got, right?
Yeah.
And, I'd sit there and put it on and sneak in the room in the middle of the night and just wake them up and just, I was a terrible father. That's what that.
Oh no!
Oh yeah, they hate that mask today. It's just like, Scream, whatever, you suck. So, I got some mileage out of that on them and just laughed. They're scarred.
Oh, that is hilarious, man. I love that. Oh my gosh. So I guess when it comes to Scream now, I would like to just kind of find out what your average. I know there's a lot of nights, obviously, but what was the average shooting schedule like for you? Because there are so many scenes that we see Ghostface in now. Here and there. Now there's obviously some we don't, but what was you recall your average shooting schedule that you were on call on set?
Yeah, I mean, we were shooting nights, so
Yeah.
you know, and then there was a lot of nights where there were some nights where I wasn't needed, let's say till midnight, because they had their shot list and they had to do coverage with Drew inside those. So let's talk about our opening sequence, right?
Yes.
There was a lot of coverage in there with just Drew, where I
Mhm.
didn't need to be around, so I could wrap out. I think there was one night where there's probably a couple of nights in there when I wasn't needed at all. I was just on hold. I didn't even show up. And then there was a couple where I came in, worked a 6 to 6, 12-hour day. That's typical. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
I think there was a couple when I would show up at 10 or 11, right? So,
Mhm.
but yeah, when we shoot nights, it doesn't matter if you're shooting nights or day, you're going to work a 12-hour day, if not more. I mean, that's very common.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. And
Very
was it 7 days on or 6 days
I
on?
remember I think we were on a 5-day up there, maybe a 6-day,
Okay.
but I can't remember that. I think we were on a 5-day. And then, I'm pretty sure it was a 5-day. We worked Monday through Friday, have the weekends off, which was basically 1 day of sleep and 1 day of laundry, reset, go again.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I was on a lot of big films, and that's kind of how that schedule ran. So
Okay.
we'd work our tail off Monday through Friday, and then by the time Friday hit, a couple of guys would go out and we'd have a good time. But most of the time, we're beat tired because Fridays, we're a pile, and then like Saturday, everybody would like get their gear cleaned up and laundry on Saturday, chill out on Sunday because you're going to be back to work at 5 a.m. on Monday.
Oh, yeah.
That's a typical work week on a film.
Man, now, I've heard the legendary stories of David Arquette's hotel room, Party Central. Did you ever find your way down there to David's hotel room?
No, as a matter of fact, I got to remember when we first started. I think they actually had us, the stunt guys. We were in a whole different. We were at a different hotel. Because back
Okay.
then, the hotel, stunt guys and actors didn't commingle like they do now, right?
I see.
And it wasn't a bad thing. It was just the
Yeah.
ambiance.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were driving go-karts through the hallways, and I mean, it was a circus over there. And
Can imagine. My
yeah,
gosh.
I would hear about it or see it the next day on set. Everybody would be coming in. I'm like, what happened? So yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah,
Oh,
it was pretty funny to listen to some of the stories they were getting into. I'm like, man, I thought I was crazy. Those guys are just nuts.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I haven't, of course, I don't know all the details or anything, but they've, here and there through, panels at conventions and things, they've revealed little tidbits here and there. And I'm like, oh
Yeah.
man, it's like a party at 6 a.m. Like it starts at 6 in the
Well,
morning.
you got you think about it. Here, these guys are all in their 20s, and they're making a
Yeah,
boatload of money, and they're on location, and they're yeah.
exactly. Yes.
Yeah. The most of those rumors are true, probably, I would say.
I think so too. Especially
Yeah.
David Arquette. He is crazy anyway, right? He's
Yeah. Everybody had equal opportunity. It wasn't just one ringleader. It might
sure.
have been his room, but everybody participated.
For sure. No, no doubt. Um, hey, we got a super chat just came in from Charlie with a $2 super chat. Thank you, Charlie. Charlie asked, "Have you ever got seriously injured during a project?" Oh.
Yeah, I got stretched out really good on Jurassic 2 after that big
Mm,
dinosaur scene when I got yanked out of the Jeep.
yeah.
That one re-arched me like a truck spring. It was
Ah,
I was still hobbling and it was all soft tissue, but yeah, that one hurt. And then there'd been other films where there's always this saying about it. It's always the little ones that get a hold of you. Like, oh yeah, go out through this glass breakaway, right? I
mhm.
forgot what I don't know if it was like Crazy in Alabama or something like that, but I doubled doubled some bald guy. Hey, go figure. And I had on. And I forgot who the guy was, but they're like, "Hey, we just need you to go out this window." And it was on the stage. It wasn't even a full house. It was just a window on a stage because it was shot really tight. And a no-brainer. So I show up, jump in the wardrobe, which was a chef's shirt, an apron with shorts and Crocs. And to this day, I hate Crocs. So I go out through and the effects was there. It was all lit and everything. I show up at like 9 a.m. It's all casual, just a one-take wonder, get out of there, make some easy money. I'll be done in time for lunch. I look at the window. I'm like, it's all scored up. And I'm like, all right. And talk to the effects guy. I'm like, you make it if you sneeze, it's going to break. He goes, yeah, we got it taken care of. And I looked at him like, all right, let's go. And we hit this, and they had an apple box or a crate, right, for me to step on and get up to high enough on the window. It was a piece of cake. Well, they yell action, and I hit this thing like a ton of bricks, and the big cross member on this window, just like a regular slider window, it hit me right here, and I stopped. Oh. I stopped. My arms and leg come through, and they had enough time. It was like some scene out of a Bugs Bunny movie. I look at the camera like, what? And then I hit the ground. I mean, I hit like a sack of bricks. So I untangle myself, and I am just oozing. I am bleeding everywhere. And it was candy glass. It was breakaway glass. Dang. And that was just oozing. It took 15, 20 minutes so I'm like, they yell, okay. They're like, yeah, you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to go clean up. And I get off the set because I didn't want anybody to see this movie. So I go around the corner. I'm taking paper towels. I'm talking to our medics. I'm trying to stop oozing long enough to do take two. And it's going to take an hour to reset. And it was a little no-brainer stunt. And I mean, it kicked my ass. I came home that day, and I'm like, what the hell happened? And freaking just a wreck.
That's awful.
Yeah, so it's always these little ones that get you. I was doing, I think, some Jean-Claude movie way back in the day, and I got blown up. And didn't clear my hand didn't clear my chest quick enough, and I knife handed my own sternum and just separated everything on one side. I'm like, how stupid is that? Self-inflicted. Oh, and it was a no-brainer. It was like, oh yeah, step here, you blow up, and it wasn't like effects had this big snappy explosion. It was just this little more of a little bit of black powder and a lot of smoke. So it was really soft. They did a great job. I'm the one who screwed up.
Oh man,
I just separated. Man, that just hurt. Because there ain't nothing you could do about it. Yeah, you could duct tape it and put a little compression on it, but
goodness.
So it's always the little ones that wreck you. Yeah.
Oh man, sounds. I guess I'm just not wired to do the DNA for stunt work, man. It's not my. Yeah. That's why I admire you, and I
appreciate it.
It's that just takes, man. I'm telling you, I really do. I really, stunt performers do not get the attention and the recognition that they should have, and I'm telling you right now, if without you and your peers and that are working so hard to bring these movies to life in these sequences, these movies would not land. They would not be the same movies. It would be awful.
Oh, absolutely. And, if you look at the biggest grossing blockbusters, okay, you take a look at the top 10 heavy action movies.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All the DC, all the Marvel, all that stuff, heavy action, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what stunt performers do. And it's interesting that, and I appreciate you saying that, because we generate a lot of income for a lot of people, and we have a very small voice. And usually run, and we actually run a pretty small budget comparatively.
Yes.
If we have a $10 million budget, sometimes I've been on films when the stunt budget was below the catering budget. So,
man,
it was back in the day. So,
wow,
yeah, we don't have a big voice. We don't get heard very often, and yet we contribute financially to the biggest component. Obviously, you need some big, heavy hitting A-list actors and actresses. Then they just on their name alone, you're going to get boxed. But if you don't have those super talented stunt guys, stunt girls, and strong DPs and cinematography, it's a whole package. It's not one person.
That's right. That's right.
It's a whole package. And when you get these super talented people together, cool stuff happens.
Yes, very, very. It would. I just really, I much respect, man. I really do. Much respect for you. Um, I have a question from Jen, who's celebrating her 16th month as the channel member. Jen, thank you so much. She wanted to ask, in Scream 1, when Tatum and Sydney are in the grocery store getting the groceries to go to Stu's party,
Mm-hmm.
the two of them are shopping. Her question is, who was the Ghostface supposed to be in the grocery shop? Because Ghostface makes an appearance. Do you know who that was supposed to be in there? Because there's a big question.
Like was it Stu? Is that what you mean?
Yes, like was it Billy or Stu, or could it have been Roman? Now, having the knowledge from Scream 3, I've always suggested it could have been Roman, checking in on things, looking backwards.
Mm.
Any thoughts on that?
I think about that kind of stuff occasionally, especially when it comes up in questions, right? So, like, I get asked a lot, and not to avoid her question, I get asked a lot on when I killed Drew, who was like the scene where Drew reaches up to take my mask off, right?
Yes.
Wes gets out of the reveal. He doesn't let you see, obviously, who that was.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always thinking, I'm like, well, I'm thinking Skeet, man. That was where I bet on his character, Billy. So, and everybody's like, yeah, but Stu, they dated at one time. I'm like, yeah, okay, valid point, but
mm-hmm.
I'm thinking Billy. And the reason I go there, so here, listen up, Scream Nation. Here's how I go there. The reason I say that is we go all the way to the end, right, where they're in the kitchen and he's getting woozy, right? Well, why does he get woozy? That's because Billy freaking got him like a fish, right? Boom. Very violent, very deep, very aggressive. And if you remember how old Casey got, strung up, very violent, very aggressive, very nasty.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that nastiness was a lot more in Billy's character than it was in Stu's character.
Interesting. Okay. Hey, man. It has always been a big question. And
it always will be, and that's part of that's what's so cool about Scream, right? That's what's great about the franchise. And
that's
until I run into Kevin Williamson one of these days at someplace, some con, and I get a chance to put him in a chokehold and force it out of him. It's one of the questions I've never asked them. It's like, okay, when you were writing and I was portraying, who was that character?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Who was that? And I don't know if he's ever been asked that, or he's avoided it, or whatever. But yeah, if I ever get a chance to corner him, I'll throw it on him and see what he says.
That would be awesome. then you can tell us on the. Hey, you can message me, or you can let me know, and I'll let everybody know.
Yeah, I mean, because poor Stevie, right? Her boyfriend got butchered pretty good, right? We gutted that guy like a fish too,
big time.
I'm still thinking old Billy was laying it on him.
Could have been. Of course, my theory has always been that Stu and Billy were both on site, because I think it takes two of them to get Drew hung up that around the tree and up that quickly.
Yeah, we could go there. We could go there.
Yeah.
And they could have both been on site, but
right.
Who did the butchering? Who did who was in the wardrobe? Who was Ghostface at that time? Obviously me. I always flex on that.
Exactly. It was you.
When those two start going at him, like, no, guys, neither one of you. I was right here. It was me. It was all me.
That's right.
And, the third guy that got cut out of the film, his name was Chuck. That was me.
That's awesome. We got another super chat that has come in from Charlie, and $2 super chat. Charlie says, "What was the Ghostface knife made out of?"
Hey, great question. So the retractable, the one that I actually stabbed Drew with, and those were aluminum. All right, so that one right there is practical. That was just a dull buck 120, right?
Okay.
You just take the edge off. In fact, the one that I do photo ops is a buck 120 prop knife.
Okay.
So it's a real knife, and then the effects guys take the edge off of it.
Gotcha.
And the retractable knives back at that time, you couldn't tell, but the blade would actually slide back into itself.
Okay.
And so then those were metal with springs, and it was a really neat piece of mechanism. But every once in a while they would fail. And yeah, and believe me, I thought about that when I was stabbing Drew. You know, if this thing goes bad, bad place to get stabbed, man. So
yes,
you know, I knew a stunt guy that got stabbed in the thigh with a retractable knife and it didn't retract.
Oh
And,
no!
yeah,
Did it penetrate? Like, did it go in?
Oh yeah, his femur stopped it. That's how deep it went.
Oh no!
Right in the middle of his thigh, it was just sticking out. Like, yeah, boy, that's gonna leave a mark.
Yeah, it's gonna leave exactly. You need more than a Band-Aid for that one, man. That's awful.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, the knives were metal and real in that sense. They weren't they weren't some of the 3D ones or the plastic ones, the resin ones, the ones that I use. Some of my prop knives outside of the one I use for photo ops, those guys are pretty legit. They're about 98% of the real deal. So they're somewhere there they are right there.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and those are very accurate with size and feel, but they're a resin, right?
Okay. How heavy is that Buck 120? Is it pretty heavy?
The real Buck 120s are substantial weight. Here's you gotta love this one. I hadn't played with this yet. I want to do some video on this one, right? So this is like, you know, you put it on, stick a hole in your wardrobe.
Okay.
Real Buck 120s are a pound. I'd say they probably come in at 16 ounces, maybe a little bit less. I mean, it's a legit piece of metal.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Got a question here from my buddy JT over at Mixed Bag of Videos. That's a great channel. He said, "Is there anything you didn't do you wish you did in the horror genre?"
In horror.
Mm-hmm.
In horror. Yeah, I really wish I could have done the Freddy burn that Tony did in Scream or Nightmare 1.
Yeah, man.
That was a good gag, and I really wanted to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, you know, I've always been strong on fire. I did a lot of firework in my career.
Mm-hmm.
And,
okay.
That's one that I'm like, man, it's every once in a while. I think the reason it was so iconic because, I mean, Nightmare, once again, it was a typical Wes Craven film, and we knew we were going to make a movie, but it was a really cool piece. And Tony had the pleasure of doing the burn in The Thing for John Carpenter. Remember The Thing, when the guy's head splits open and comes out blazing with that 20-foot tail and just cooking?
Yes.
Right? That was Tony Caesar.
Okay.
And I remember that scene. I'm like, that's a hell of a gag, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would love to do something like that. So when Freddy came up, I'm like, you know, I think I asked Tony once if I could do it, and he's like, nope. I'll let you set me up. I'll let you put me out, but that paycheck's mine. Yeah, right, Chief, no problem. So yeah, I'd love to have done that. That was a cool stunt. I like that stunt.
Wow.
You know, so in the horror genre, that would be the one. You know, would have been fun to do. And I wish that I could have done a practical version of, like, my favorite all time is Creature from the Black Lagoon, right? And that's what turned on water work. And I loved watching that creature underwater. And I mean, like, so it would have been cool to somewhere in my stunt career to do that. Now, I did a lot of underwater work too, fire and water. So it was the yin and yang. But, you know, to be actually in that suit swimming around like that, man, talking about a stud, that guy was just incredible. So
wow,
that would have been cool to do something like that.
Yeah. Oh, man, underwater where you can't breathe and fire where you can burn. You are a born stunt performer, Lee. That is those are your desires, man. It's in your blood.
It is, and you know, it took me a long time to get off that cocktail of adrenaline. And now I just love fishing and getting fat and doing podcasts. So I'm good now. I don't have anything to prove. It's a young man's game, You know, I paid my dues, and here we are talking about it. You know,
Heck
20,
yeah.
30 years later. So it's a blessing. I love doing it. So,
Oh man,
you know,
and believe me, you're blessing us by doing it. You really are. That's a blessing to us
thank you.
because as fans, this is something we really treasure. Like this, you know, it means something it's very real and important to us, and this is special. So
And I really appreciate it, and that's the reason I do the cons. Is it's all about the fans. You
mhm.
know, if it wasn't, you know, if they weren't
Yeah,
interested, I wouldn't do it. You
yeah,
know, I wouldn't
yeah.
be putting it out there. It's because of the fans are crazy, man. They're ravenous. I love the Scream
That's
Nation.
true.
You know,
Yes,
and horror
absolutely.
fans, even if they're not quote unquote a Scream fan, like we got Halloween fans, we got
Oh yeah.
all the genres. We got Saw, we got 40. I mean, Halloween 45 is coming up. How 45 years? I remember when that film came out,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's coming up.
That's right.
And so, if it wasn't for those rabid collector, awesome fans pushing this whole crazy horror genre thing, we wouldn't be sitting here talking. So it's all about the fans. It's all about the fans. That's what I love about them.
That's so cool, man. And
Yeah.
it's just, you know, and it means a lot that, you know, that like you, for example, are willing to come and embrace us and, you know, and not be like, you know, well, you know, standoffish and no, you come and embrace us and engage with us
Well, heck
and
yeah. I mean, you guys are sweet enough to accept me in the family. You got to remember, I am a horror fan, right? I loved
yes,
growing up on the Universal monsters, man. That was the best.
yes.
That
Well,
was
Lee, I
great.
have to ask you now, because you're Ghostface, man. I have to ask. Well, I have to ask. I have to turn the tables. I'm sure you've been asked this more times than you can remember. But what is? I'm going to dare try to sound like Roger L. Jackson. What is your what's your favorite scary movie?
And so my favorite horror movie is Creature from the Black Lagoon.
That's
Love
number
that.
one.
That's number one. If I had a
Okay.
default, boom, we're going to go there. But then I was asked on another podcast not too long ago, what horror scene really like what scared you the most out of one horror scene? And it wasn't a horror movie, but do you remember the damn flying monkeys in The Wizard of Oz?
Of course.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
So when the first time I saw that, when I was just a runt, man, that was God. I hated those flying monkeys.
I know. It's
Hated the flying
terrifying.
monkeys. Yes, they
Yes.
are. And even to this day, when I watch that film again, right, and
Yeah.
watch that scene, I'm like, I don't like that scene because just for the psychological trauma it put me through. But then I look at him like, why did the flying monkeys freak me out? I don't
Right.
know, but I don't like the scene to this day. Don't like flying monkeys.
No.
So like, yeah. So out of all the stuff, out of all the horror, because I loved late 70s through 80s horror. Loved that genre and that era.
Yes.
And
Yes.
me and my buddies would go grab a stack of VHS or go to the theater
Mm-hmm.
and just watch B horror.
Yeah.
Loved B horror. And the cheesier the effects, the more we loved it.
Same.
Yeah. So I did, so out of all that, plus all the horror I did as a stuntman, yeah, I could default to those stupid ass flying monkeys. Hate those things.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Uh,
pretty funny, right?
and I can relate. I mean, I'm right there with you, man. Seriously.
Yeah.
Um, hey, we got another super chat's come in for a question for you here, Lee, from Charlie, with a $5 super chat. Charlie, thank you so much for supporting the channel, man. Let's see here. Have you ever gotten a stunt, or I guess been given a stunt, and said no, I won't or can't do that, refuse to do it?
Nope. Never turned one down. I've had scheduling conflicts, right?
Okay.
And I might be on a show for a week and they're like, hey, come on over and start this show and this and this. And like, no, I got to finish up here. Because once I sign on, that's it. I signed on the line, let's go make a movie.
That's
and
it.
sometimes I left some money on the table doing that, but that was my reputation. I finished it. I started it. That's all there is to it. Boom, moving on. So, there might have been stunts that have been around me that might have been outside my wheelhouse. But everything that was directed towards me and to me directly, I don't think I turned one down.
Wow. Well, and again, I'm sure that probably helped continue to help your career grow, right? I mean, obviously that's
And
yeah.
I was just a good, solid stunt guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would show up on time, do my job to the best of my abilities, hopefully not get in too much trouble in the process, and go home. So out of everybody's, you got to remember about stunt guys and movie business: big egos, big pride, big all this other there's craziness. I was just the guy, and I'd show up and do my job. So you can talk crap, but you can't talk crap about the worth ethic.
That's right.
On time, do my job, don't bitch, moan, or whine, and just do the job.
Man, that's a secret for success in pretty much every career field. And
both my boys are in production, right? I kept them out of the stunt side. They're behind the camera.
Okay.
And I told them, like, hey, if you're going to go in this business, you better have a hide an inch thick, because you're going to get rejected and people are going to backstab you and all that other stuff. And it comes with the territory of making movies.
Yep.
So hey, if you can't handle that, go do something else.
Mm-hmm.
2, make yourself the guy that shows up on time, is always busy, always working.
Yeah.
And today's market, I mean, showing up on time and just doing your job, you're going to excel, because so many people are whiny and lazy and, oh, I had to work 6 hours. Oh my gosh. Give me a break. I'm having coffee at 6 hours, shifting gears and getting ready to double down for the next 8.
Oh, geez.
All you got to do now to be successful, is obviously be some time. I'm not necessarily talking about stunts in general, but just across the board, just having a job. Just show up on time.
That's right.
Don't leave early, show up on time and work. It's pretty easy to succeed.
That's right. So Paula has a question. She wants to know, when did you know that you had gotten the job as Ghostface in Scream?
I think I talked to Tony about it a month prior, and then I probably got the call a week before production started, before we started rolling cameras, because I knew production was coming, so we had discussed it. And then I think I got my phone rang about 7 days before to leave for location.
Okay. Wow. How did you, of course, again, I know we talked about it earlier, like no one knew. And even I heard like Matthew Lillard and folks, Jamie Kennedy and others have said, no one knew what that movie was going to become, how iconic it is. And, and I'm sure you as you yourself, like, knowing you were going to be Ghostface at that time, I mean, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but you were probably thinking, I'm going to do a job. I'm going to be a masked killer, right? And I mean, you tell me. You tell me what you were thinking going into the job.
I could have cared less. It was a stunt job. I'm a stunt man. I show up, I do my job, I leave. Right? That's the gig. Nobody had any pregame notion and hype. And they didn't like, oh, you're the main villain. There was none of that. Like Tony said, get on the plane, get up here. So I jump on the plane, I show up. And then, like, what are we doing? And then he's like, well, we got this. And we were going through the whole shot list of stunts, not just because I was up there to help him out.
Mm-hmm.
We went through the whole film on what we were doing, and we scouted a bunch of it while we were up there. So, by the time it came to really doing quote unquote Ghostface, it's like, all right, what are you doing? Well, you're going to play this guy. I'm like, okay, here's wardrobe. I'm like, I was like, what is this? A black burlap sack? Like, here's your mask. I'm like, oh, this is great. I can't breathe or can't see. What am I going to do here? Run into the wall? But hey, let's get it down, man. Let's go. So it didn't have, that's a great shot.
Isn't that an awesome shot? Thanks.
Yeah, that was done. There's a place called, at that time it was called Scream House Tours. Now it's like Spring Hills Estate. And I went up there. A friend of mine invited me up. He goes, just come on up. And the guy who runs that program, Dane, who has this fantastic thing called Chiller app. That chilling app is just fantastic. It's a place where you can actually go and listen to horror. So he had always wanted to meet me. He's a super Scream fan. Obviously, he runs that program. And so I jump on a jet, fly up there, and totally ambush him. And he freaked out, and it was a really good time. And we've become fast friends ever since. So that film, that was the first time I was in that house when we took that film, that picture. That was the first time I was in that house in 26 26 years.
Wow.
It was surreal when I stepped into it. It was weird.
That's what I was going to ask you. How did it feel? Wes is gone now, right? And that movie has taken on such an iconic status, and since you guys filmed it and released it, how did that feel? Remembering, I'm sure all the memories, right? Had to
Yeah, it was
flood.
surreal. I didn't spend that much time in that house. I was there on the scouts and the pre-production,
Okay.
but I remember scenes, and it's weird because I remember being in the house and setting stuff up and talking and things like that. I remember scenes, but then when you watch the film and seen it as many times as I have, they all flow together to me, right?
Sure.
So it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to remember, like I was
Mhm.
here physically for that scene or I wasn't, because it all comes together. And it was really neat to set foot back in there again. It was a real cool feeling. It all came rushing back. It was neat.
Wow.
I really appreciated that.
That's so awesome, man. And scene 118, right? The legendary scene 118, 3 weeks to shoot it at the Stumacher house. And all the and the running, and I remember the iconic chase scenes through that house, chasing Nev through the stairs, up through the attic.
Yeah, I can't remember who was playing Ghostface at that time.
I wasn't sure. Okay.
Because there's Ghostface was designed not to be portrayed by one guy.
Right.
Even though I did the lion's share of it,
Yep.
production didn't want that for a couple of different reasons. Part of it, they didn't want the character to get so locked in, physically moving, right?
Okay.
And they blamed Kane Hodder, and Kane and I were stunt guys back in the day, and they don't want that. They didn't want one guy playing it and then getting locked in. Number two, you got to remember, stunt dudes are expendable, right? You wad one of us up, there's a line to 10 guys deep that could come in and do it bigger, better, faster.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. But what if that guy or girl comes in and it doesn't move the same, and now you have this continuity issue? But really, they didn't want one cat playing Ghostface all the way through any of the films, and that's why when 6 came out and they had one guy dedicated to Max, right, super talented stunt guy, and he moved with authority. And in fact, I shot him. We hooked up on Instagram, and I complimented him. I'm like, from the old guy to the young guy, because he did such a great job at portraying Ghostface under Wes and I. Is from Wes's vision to the way that I portrayed it to the way that he portrayed it. I saw a whole lot of what Wes wanted to see in the character. So I really appreciated his rendition of the way he played Ghostface. And I think it paid off when you had one guy playing the character all the way through.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, all that stuff back at the house, getting chased around up and down and doors slamming, all that stuff.
Okay.
It was, they had weeks to do it, and I had already finished up on production at that point, and I was already to another movie at that point.
Okay.
So I was off and running.
Gotcha.
I think out of a 6-week schedule, I was there for 2.5, 3 of it, and then I did a lot of scouting with Tony and prepping.
I see. Got it. Okay.
And then I rotated out.
Okay.
I was off to another film at that point.
Well, I'll tell you what, and I know we've already talked a lot about this scene, but the iconic opening scene here, and I just have to ask you this question about the opening scene, because I just want to know, and I'm sure you've heard this, I'm sure by a lot of people, but that opening kill scene of Casey Becker is heralded by many, including myself, as without question one of the most iconic opening kill scenes in the history of horror movies. I mean, I'm serious.
Absolutely.
Period. And I just want to ask, how does it feel? And I know you're a very humble guy, so I probably won't get, it's probably hard for you to answer this because I know you're very humble. But I just want to know, when you think about that, that's really how it's seen by the majority of the horror community. How does it feel to be a part of that? Because there's only 2 people on the screen, except for poor Stephen Orth, but don't really count him. It's you and Drew Barrymore. It's the 2 of you that make this scene that is so I respect it as iconic and legendary as of an opening scene. How does that feel to be a part of that scene for history that will be there for? I mean, that's historic.
It is, and I absolutely, I agree with that. And I was just super blessed and super humbled, and I'm very humbled by that experience. Right? People are like, "Yeah," I was like, "Yeah," and then I'm like, "Okay, yeah, it's really cool," and it is. I love
Yeah.
that. That is me on that piece of film history. I'll be in the ground, and people will still be talking about it, and that's great. But here's where and Drew freaking just hit a home run, right?
Yes.
So the thing about it is, it could have been Drew and I under different direction from a different director with different vision, and it would have been a whole different opening. So
True.
really, it all goes to Wes. Yeah, we did our parts as actors, but it was under Wes's direction and vision. I cannot remember what Wes and I were cracking up about at that point, but it was a lighthearted movement, and
Yes.
so it was Wes that brought the intensity to that scene. And Wes has just tons of little tricks I learned from him. So, he screws with the viewer, he screws with the audience when, he has the shock value of me blasting out the window. And Drew did all of her stunts, right?
Okay.
She's a very game, very talented actress. And and we did things safely enough to, like, when I come shooting out that window and I tackle her, if you look at it, I come out the window and all I did was touch her just to give her the reference of wadding him, and she goes down, I go down, so that's all that was. I didn't wrap her up. So there's a behind the scenes. So all you've got, here you go, Scream Nation, go watch it in slow-mo, stop action. You see that I don't really just tangle her up like a stunt person.
Yeah.
So, so we go from this fast action, everything comes together, and that's when he screws with the audience and puts everything in the freaking, I don't know what the crank was on the film, but everything goes into slow motion. And it just drags out the fact that the lion is going to eat the Impala. Everybody knew, and everybody was rooting for it. But Wes takes that opening scene and just strings out the poor audience. And it's in slow-mo, so your brain has time to process what's going on.
Yes. Oh, man.
So it's a whole different intensity. So like when we were shooting stuff in the house, slamming doors quick. And that was cat and mouse. This one was, big mountain lion eating poor deer. and it let the audience have time to take that in.
Oh, man.
And Wes was really good about how he manipulated the viewers.
So
he
masterful.
did the same thing on When I Kill Henry Winkler. Principal Henry.
Oh gosh, what a great kill.
Yeah, and so if you go back and watch that sequence, that film, and I remember on the day, and I didn't understand why, but I remember Wes telling me that, hey, we're shooting this in slow-mo, so move a certain way. I'm like, okay. But I didn't understand where we were going with it until I saw the movie. So if you actually go back and watch that scene, when I come out from behind the door on the reveal right there, if you watch that at regular speed, you will see all my wardrobe, go in slow motion. And it's just a slightly under crank, or over crank. And I don't know, maybe 36 frames per second on that. Or so just enough to and I don't know why Wes shot it that way, in the sense that, was it just enough to warp the viewer a little bit, because it was very subtle. So go back and watch that, and you'll see my wardrobe move in slow motion.
That is incredible.
Yeah, and
wow.
I remember shooting that scene, and it took us a couple of days to get through all of it, and but it was. I'm like, what do you mean we're shooting in slow motion?
Yeah.
But he didn't, I didn't ask per se. And I'm like, oh, how slow motion? Like, are we at 48 frames? Are we 36? What is that? Why are we doing it? My job is to shut up and make stunts happen. Okay. So I didn't bother asking about it.
That is incredible because I actually had this shot pulled to talk about it because I love this part when he shuts the door, and I love the I call it the charisma, the personality of Ghostface that you brought to the character.
Once again,
Um,
he's a phantom, right? He's aggressive.
yes, and the arms up. I'm just like, what was that? Was that something that you came up with naturally? Just came to mind? Was that Wes kind of giving an idea, or what brought the idea for those arms to be fully up in the air?
So that was Wes's direction in a sense, because I was to attack him, and that's that was that was the tiger that was pouncing, so to speak.
Got it. Yep.
So, but then Wes is like, when we're rehearsing this, and he goes and he was telling me that, hey, we're shooting this in slow motion, so make it big, right? So as I came up with my arms, it was really a big move, and I didn't. I'm like, okay, he wants it big, we'll go big. And I didn't realize what he was after until I sat down there and at the screening and looked at it. And I'm like, huh, why was that? It was in slow motion. So go back. Everybody's watching the film right now, or they're going to go watch it. Go watch that thing and watch how slow motion is.
When this stream's over, I'm doing it. I'm telling you right now, I'm pulling it up. That's amazing. And Henry Winkler, you killed the Fonz, Lee.
Yeah, one of the few times, the only time, as a matter of fact, I absolutely geeked out. I fanboyed on him so hard.
I bet.
This is the Fonz, and you got to remember that Henry Winkler was the top dog in TV for 12 seasons, I think, of Happy Days, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Right? Super talented guy. He's very, very sweet, very humble, professional, and fun to work with, right? But yeah, I totally fanboyed out. I'm like, duh, it's the Fonzie. Man, I was just an idiot. And I don't fanboy out. Celebrity does not impress me.
Okay. Yep.
I don't, and like, yeah, you're an actor. Okay. Right. cool job, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Stunts are doing really cool things too, because we don't want to hurt you. But so yeah, I fanboyed out on Henry, and it took about. It's probably one of the few times where it took more than one take to get something in hand. I think I did 3 takes on killing him, and it took until the last one, so I got my energy up and not worried about hurting him, because he's not a very good guy,
right?
And it took like the first 2 takes. It was just an idiot. I'm like, blah 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 blah. Just like, it's the Fonz, it's Henry. I don't want to hurt him, because as stunt guys, when we throw a fight, we could bring energy to each other and really bring that energy up. And if it gets physical, well, big deal. We're just going to wrap up as a physical piece of acting, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I didn't know Henry's capabilities, and I'm not about to get into him and run this knife through him, and I didn't want to hurt him, and that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
So yeah, it took and he pulls me aside and he starts, go, hey man, you got to give me some energy, right? Because I wasn't giving him. I was being so passive. I wasn't giving him the energy to react accordingly if he was getting stabbed or attacked.
Okay.
And so finally, after take 2, he goes, Lee, you got to step it up, and he starts, and he gets into my head. He gets into the principal character, and he gets into my head as Ghostface character. So he's not talking to me, Henry Lee. He's talking to me character to character. And so by the time he gets done effing with me, right, I totally got into his. It was like, okay, I'm going to kill you and have a good time. So that's how he took me and walked me back into the corner, going, hey, that he started just screwing with me and getting in my head. So when that character was finally unleashed, that's why we got the scene done finally. So I learned a whole lot about acting from him in that scene.
Wow, that's amazing. That's so cool, man. And I tell you what, his scream was blood curdling that he did. It really was. Like it sounded like he was getting stabbed, man. That way
I was trying to stab him at that point because I was really pissed off as Ghostface, and I wanted to kill the principal, which I did.
You sure did. Oh my gosh. Now, Lee, we have just a few more questions. Please, I want to respect your time, man. I don't want to overstay your welcome here, because I want you to want to come back, and not be like, oh no, I don't want to. That's the guy that keeps me there forever. I don't want that. So, do you have time for a few more?
Yeah,
is that okay?
Let's take care of everybody watching. That's what this is about.
Okay. All right. We do have a few more here. Jen Werner sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you, Jen. Says Russell asked Lee, oh, okay, are you on the stew train? Now, Lee, what that means
Yeah,
is,
yeah, I know what he's talking about.
you know what I'm talking about? I'm the conductor
I'm
of the
not.
stew train.
I'm
Yeah.
still. I
Okay.
still think Billy was the whack master because he carves people better than Stu does.
Okay. And let me ask you
Right?
this. And here's the thing. I personally, just my own thoughts on it. I believe Stu did survive Scream 1, and I'm like pulling for his return and then hopefully Scream 7. And so I call myself the conductor of the Stu train, meaning the return of Stu Mocker.
Yeah,
Do
and
you
I
think
get
that
it.
he could have survived?
So as a matter of fact, and I laugh about that. So as we know, Alan Robinson, who's a very close dear friend of mine, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
I helped Alan a little bit earlier in his career, and then he hammered it down and put me in the dust. And he doubled everybody and coordinated everything for 20 years.
Yes.
So he doubled, right?
Yes, he did.
And the thing about Wes is that Wes, and the way that, and I know this from Wes, so like he never says, "Oh, this is where Stu dies," right?
Mhm.
And now
No.
I'm gonna tell you this story. He goes, TV on his head, he gets electrocuted, stops moving.
Right.
Great, moving on. So so here's my position on this. I say, because Wes, when Dewey gets stabbed, right?
Mhm.
The original script version was that he died, and they shot it as such. And then on the day, Wes shot it with him, instead of being zipped up in the bag, which was the original version.
Mhm.
He's not in good shape, and he's going to the ambulance. And Wes shot that off the hip.
Mhm.
So,
Yep.
he shot it one way, and then I don't know if it was his instincts or he goes, maybe whatever. It was Wes, and he was quite the genius at this stuff. And
Mhm.
yet he turned right around on the date, on the moment, and shot him being just wheeled in there, in bad shape onto the ambulance, as compared to a body bag, which is what we had. So,
True.
there's that version that maybe Stu survived, and
That's right.
I think Kevin Williamson chimed in and said that he was dead, but
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 exactly.
Dewey
Uh-huh.
was supposed to be dead, and he was shot dead, stabbed dead, but shot, camera wise dead.
Yep.
And Wes did the Wesism, and
Mhm.
he made it to the, we didn't kill him until what, 5, 6?
5. Yep,
So,
that's right.
you know,
Exactly. That's right, man. There you go. So it's possible, right? It's possible.
yeah, I would think so. I mean, everybody's rooting for everybody. I'm rooting for me to come back, so to speak, in 7 in some capacity too. But
Heck yeah. That'd be
we'll see.
amazing. Gosh.
Somebody who's somewhere in either the chat room or something, or at the con said, like, oh, we got to. What was that? What they were talking about in Sticks about the eggs?
Oh.
Yeah, like the golden egg or hidden egg or something like that, right? And
I'm blanking right now, man. I'm blanking, but
yeah, have one of our viewers type it in real quick. They'll know what I'm talking about. So yeah, it would be great to be part of 7 in some capacity.
it would be amazing. And
they're trying to figure out, how Drew could come back to being, and
she said she wants to come back. Parker Posey said she wants to come back from Scream 3 too.
Yeah, love it.
Everybody wants to come back.
Well, it'd be fun to have. I would love to do a scene with Drew again, and either something unrelated or come back and have her kill me, which would be really great bookends on a career.
Wouldn't that be awesome, man? Well, yeah. Lee, I'm a big fan of having a cult of Ghostface killers. What if they brought back all of the original stunt performers who portrayed Ghostface in the movies, and it brought them in and they actually reprised their roles as Ghostface in the movie?
Well, I mean, most of them, in fact, I know all of them. So I think we should have a bar scene, because that'll be probably apropos.
That's awesome.
Have a bar scene. I'll have a big old drunken fight bar scene and put us all in there. And, That would be more our speed.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, we got a couple more questions that have come in. Some super chats that came in. Charlie submitted a $2 super chat. Thanks, Charlie. Charlie's asking, did you ever meet Roger L. Jackson?
It's funny because Roger was there, scene one, day one, right? He was there, and I didn't really collate what Roger was doing because I was doing my thing, right?
Right.
And Roger was on set. Drew never saw him though; he was always isolated and offset.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Roger being in the kitchen and saying hi to him briefly. It was like a passing by thing. I think Tony introduced us. It was very, very limited, and he and I are going to be getting together at a con later this year, right?
Nice. Yeah.
So when that occurs, that'll be really special because that'll be the first time the two OGs will be at the same place at the same time. So
wow.
I'm gonna take my personal Scream One poster and have him sign it.
Nice.
Yeah, and
nice.
so I sign a lot of memorabilia with his signature already on the mouth, which is appropriate. So I kind of signed the blade, but I'll let him have the territory of the mouth.
I love that.
Without him, he's the OG.
Man, that voice. There's just it's not Ghostface without his voice, man. That voice.
Absolutely.
Man, he just wow. It's incredible.
So I hope I get to see him later this year at this con and spend some time with him again and say hi. So because it's 26, 27 years since last time we were actually at the same place at the same time, so to speak, and that's when we were filming. Wow. So it'll be historical in that context when he and I are at the same time, same place.
Definitely. Oh man, that's awesome. That'll be awesome. So cool.
Yeah, most of the people follow me on Instagram. You'll see me bragging about that one when it hits.
I was just about to ask you, say, Lee, please post your Instagram picture of y'all together. I want to see that. I would really do.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that con because there's going to be a bunch of us up there. But to get a chance to meet Roger again, and I'll fanboy out a little bit so he could sign my stuff. Hopefully, he'll be gracious enough. I'm sure he will be. And, it's a big one. I mean, it's like Nev and I think Rose. It's like Nev and Matt and Skeet and Jamie and myself, and then I think Roger's in there. So that's this.
Wow.
That's 6. That's huge.
That's crazy. It's a Scream One fest, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
Much, so.
Man, that's amazing.
I'm fortunate enough to do a couple of those big reunion shows, and that's always fun because it's big energy and the crowds are crazy fun. Love that when the whole team gets together.
Yes, I mean, oh my gosh! If I ever have a way to go one of these days, that's what I would want to go to. Right?
Yeah, that's when it hits and happens, you'll hear about it because it's going to be huge, and then. You need a clear schedule on that kind of stuff.
Clear schedule and to get the VIP tickets quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when they go get them.
Yes.
And then
that
would be a heavy weekend to try to get. If you were just going like, hey, I got to get everybody, and you jumped on like, I want to get everybody's signature train. That would be very difficult to do in one weekend with that powerhouse. Those lines are going to be monstrous.
Yes, hours. And waiting.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Whew. Well, let's see here. A Hollywood guy has sent in a $5 super chat for the channel. Thank you, man. And he has a question. He says, which of these franchises would you want or wish to be in? Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Friday the 13th?
Ooh, good question. I think I'd probably go with Friday the 13th.
Ooh.
I mean, Texas Chainsaw's in its own right, its own entity, iconic, but Jason, right? I mean, Jason.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how many Friday the 13ths are in the franchise now?
Oh, shoot.
A bunch. 10? Is it 10?
I was going to say 9, but there could be 10. 9 or 10? Yeah, it's right around there.
Yeah. And so Texas Chainsaw is really cool, and I probably like the physical acting more in Texas Chainsaw,
Mm-hmm.
but Friday the 13th is such an iconic character, right? It has such
So true.
longevity and franchise. You know, like how cool it would have been to play Ghostface, Jason, Michael Myers. And there's a couple of the guys that have actually played 2 or 3 of the roles. I'm like, man, that would be so cool to be able to portray
Yeah.
those characters, right?
So true.
Yeah, so it'd been cool to jump onto another one of the genres and play another character.
Well, but man, to be the original Ghostface, man, that alone right there is in a whole nother category. I mean, because there's only one original.
Yeah, and I'm very super blessed and I wear that with pride, and I love representing, Scream and Wes,
Yes.
and I'm the OG, I'm the original guy, so that's great. I love the way I portrayed it. I love the direction that I got from Wes to portray it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
not sounding braggadly or anything. It's like everybody that
No.
played Ghostface after me had to mimic me, and in doing so, they had to get
Mhm.
Wes's direction. Like, hey, this guy was a phantom. This is where it goes, and he might have directed it differently a little bit as script dictated as such. Obviously, the character, being portrayed by somebody in the script, right,
Sure.
would move differently and whatnot. But
But essentially, you're absolutely right. I mean, because you're the model. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what everyone's going to follow. So it's so cool. And in fact, we got a super chat here from Jason Kruger. Love the last name, Jason. For $5 for the channel support. Thank you, my friend. He's asking about direction. It times right in with what you just talked about. He's asking, did Wes ever give direction to act like Billy or Stu when you were Ghostface? Like, do specific mannerisms or differentiate the two killers?
Great question. Great question. I like that. That's yeah. No, and the answer is no. Okay. I think, and this is me being purely speculative. I think Wes wanted to keep the audience guessing, right? So, like, if he goes, "Hey, this is the Stu guy, move like this, and this," or "This is Billy, move
Mhm.
this and this," right? He wanted it ambiguous, right? He just wanted it to be neutral, wanted to
Yep.
move with aggression, authority, and swiftness, right?
Mhm.
Because Ghostface owns the tarmac, so to speak. When he is in the house, the way that I portrayed him, zipping through the house and killing,
Yes.
it was brutal. Excuse me. It was brutal and fast and furious, right?
That's right.
And it might have cat-like elements,
Mm-hmm.
but now, excuse me, he kept that, I think, on purpose. He didn't want to tip the hand on who it was,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Makes sense because it is a murder mystery at its core.
Yeah,
So
well, that's like let's jump to number 6, right?
Mhm.
We got
Right.
Ghostface all over the place.
Everywhere. I know.
And we got multiples. And at that
Yep.
time, you still didn't know, even though Max played him fantastic. I loved how watching Max move and own that character and be aggressive and swift and the whole bit. You couldn't pin that. You couldn't pin that on what character in the film.
No, you really couldn't.
Right.
And nope. Because you never looked at any particular scene and said, "Oh, that's how
Right.
that's how that person moves. That's them." Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope. And same for you. Same for you. And he's very, very neutral. But I will say this, man. Like the first time we see a glimpse of Ghostface is when the Jiffy Pop's going crazy. We got smoke all over the house, and we see that glimpse of you running in the house. I mean,
Yeah. Very, very brief, very fleeting, quickly.
super quick, and the ribbons are flying from the robe behind you, and it's like, and you mentioned Phantom. It is very Phantom like, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like just flying through the frame.
Yeah.
And anyway, it's creepy as heck. Is what it is. If you ask me honestly, I'm like, if I was in that house and I saw some figure in all black with this, I would freak me out, man. I'm serious.
Once again, goes back to Wes and his directing style and how he was manipulating the audience. because until you see the reveal in the window,
Yeah.
you never get a good clean shot of
Mhm.
Ghostface.
No.
Right, and that's where the shock value of that head pop is, you know.
Turn.
Yeah,
Yep.
right, and then you get to go. That's the mask. That's the reveal. And remember how creepy that was when you hit that.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Wes was, but that was all Wes, right? He already knew in his brain, it was already cut, edited, and in the can and ready to go. He knew what he was after, right? So,
Man.
um,
Man, could you imagine, Lee, if Wes was still with us, what new films he would already have? This, can you imagine? I just miss his work.
you got to remember right at the tail end of his career and his life, so to speak, was he was trying to break out of the genre, right? He
True.
just didn't want to be known as this thing. And
Right.
I never had in-depth discussion with him about why did he want to depart that. But I think he was getting frustrated and a little bit bored with the process of horror movie, and he wanted to go off and do bigger, better things. I mean, think about it. What was the thing? I mean, he worked with Meryl Streep.
Music
Come
for the
on,
heart.
man. I'm talking about royalty. I mean,
Yeah.
wow.
And it was a great movie, by the way. It was a really good movie.
Box wise, it didn't do that well.
No, it didn't.
But to be able to, and to Miss Streep's credit, man, she sat there and learned how to play the violin for that part.
Mhm.
And not only play it at a concert level. I mean, that's how super talented this woman is.
Right.
Anybody that plays the violin, you guys will know what it takes to master that instrument.
Yes.
And to control it.
For sure.
She did that for Wes. I mean, it was just, and it was a fine little movie. But I think if Wes was around and had a chance to do some other genre and get out of, just step away from horror, he probably would have hit a home run in there someplace. And
yeah, me too.
And broken the mold of him. And because gosh, I did, like I said, I did everything from Nightmare 1 all the way through Scream 2 with him in some capacity, with the exception of like one or two that I didn't work on. One of that being Serpents and the Rainbow, and that was down in the Dominican Republic.
Yep.
But out of his horror genre, I think that was actually one of his better films.
It is. It's a very good film. It really is underrated again.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't hardly anyone ever talks about that movie, and it was well done.
It was a real solid piece of film. Didn't do all that bad at the box. It was just a solid performer.
Yeah.
But
People Under the Stairs too, which I know you were on that one.
Yeah, which was just this funky little weird film. Had a good time. I played one of the characters and was just in a couple of the scenes and all that stuff. And we had a good time making a movie.
Yeah.
It felt just like a regular Wes Craven film crew production. Let's have fun. Let's make a movie. And yet, super following. People love that film. Super following.
Absolutely. And to this
Aren't
day,
they doing a remake?
The last I heard, that Jordan Peele was going to do a remake of it.
Yeah, he was going to take a shot at it.
He was.
What's that tell you about that particular film? I mean, they're going to do take two, so to speak, which it's always interesting. Hopefully I'll get a chance to meet him or talk with him one day and find out why he wanted to do that project. Maybe he was one of those guys that really dug that movie. I don't know.
I hope so. Like, because that movie's almost one that I would just leave alone. Like, I would just we don't need that movie. Still holds up today. The message that Wes was conveying is there still, but Wes had a way of communicating what he wanted to tell you without beating you up over the head with it.
Yeah, but that was indicative of Wes. People don't realize this. Wes never lost his cool on the set. I never see him. He never blew his top. You could tell if he was aggravated or frustrated, but everything was always cool, calm, and collective. Great sense of humor and extremely intelligent. I mean, the man was a professor. He is a learned man. But to make a remake, man, I don't know. I'm kind of old school. Don't mess. How's Nev say it? Don't screw with the original.
Yeah. Don't F with the original.
Right?
That's right. I know.
when you look at not sequels, but when you sit there and look at the remake of like iconic movies, man, that's danger zone stuff.
Very dangerous. You're
danger zone stuff.
You're almost setting yourself up more for failure than success, but really.
I was I'm a big Coen Brothers fan, right? I really like their directorial style. When they took on True Grit, right? Remake of that. Ooh, I'm like, guys, I'm like, wow, man, that's a heck of a project, and they pulled it off. It was a great piece of film. Of course, Bridges, home run that one.
Oh yeah.
But, when you take on an original, you got to do it bigger, better, badder.
Boy, you sure do. Because if you don't, man, it's dead in the water. Dead in the water.
I think they stuck more to the original book than who directed the first one with John Wayne. Was it Ford? No, I don't think it was Ford. Might have been. Right. So they pulled it off, but iconic John Wayne Western compared to here we are people under the stairs. Kind of apples and oranges, right?
Well, true, but in its own right, it's still such a great movie and done so well. And I lean towards leaving it as it is. Just leave it in history. It's but I just hope if Jordan does redo that movie, he's coming from the right place. I mean, I love his movies, but just do it right. That's all. That's all my own request.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to do what he does. He's a talented guy. And maybe he's just a big old Wes Craven cheesehead like you and just loves Wes and wants to do people. I don't know.
That's what I hope.
That's the one thing I like that the brothers did on Scream 5 was they had remember the sequence when just every time you turn around, it was like a reveal flash thing where that was just a nice nod to Wes. I really appreciated that.
Yeah, it was a nice love letter to Wes. They did pay homage to him a lot in that movie and paid tribute to him a lot. And I respect Scream 5. I think Scream 6 is a better movie and story, but I think, for just my personal preference, but I think 5 was just genuinely a good way to restart, because they're picking up what Wes laid down with 4, and you're talking about a heavy load. My gosh, man!
And if Wes was with me, I'd still tell him that 3 or 4 sucked.
Oh, Lee!
not a 4 fan, guys. Sorry.
Oh,
3
okay.
I kind of blundered through. 4 was just a wreck. And
you know what's funny?
I know it's Wes. Okay. I know, but
yeah.
And you got to remember, like you had alluded to earlier, the dynamics
exactly
getting films done. Those were just he had to. There's no passing on that. He had to get those done in order to open up other opportunities. So,
and there was so much interference with as well.
So, me personally, being speculative about it, I'd probably be pretty close to right that his heart wasn't really in it.
Yeah.
But he knew that he had to get through that to get to other things.
Yeah.
So, and then the brothers picked it up on 5, and I enjoyed 5, especially when they gave a good hat nod to Wes.
They sure did. They did do that well.
Yeah. I didn't particularly like the way they portrayed Ghostface at that point either, because like 3, 4, like Ghostface, the way I portrayed him, the way that Max portrayed him, Alan did a good job at it. He was moving with authority and aggression and swiftness, right? Like phantoms do. And gosh, I mean, poor Ghosty, as some people call him, poor Ghosty was a bumbling idiot by the time, 4 and 5 got here. It's just like, God, he'd trip over his own shadow. And that was never the direction that I ever received. And I never portrayed him that way. So, and then 6 comes along and they got back to what, in my opinion, Wes's vision was, the way that I portrayed Ghostface at that time. So I really appreciated where the brothers kind of backed up, got the edge going. Let's get back down to business. And they did, And my only critique on 6 is that they put a bow on the end. That was just
I know.
Poor Chad, right? He gets turned. He gets Benny Hana'd on the. I mean, he's leaking like a sieve, and next thing you know, he's like chirping on the gurney as he goes to the ambulance, right?
Yeah,
guys,
come on, guys. I know. 17.
At least have him like at least have him on a ventilator, like with one eye
Right.
barely open, so they don't know
Yeah.
if he's going to make it to 7, right? But
Right.
no,
Yeah.
everyone's
Yeah.
walking
No,
in like a flush wound.
because you
They,
know
they,
those
they,
lungs were punctured, Lee.
yeah, oh my gosh,
You
right?
know it.
And then same with what's her name when she comes running in after
Oh,
having
I
to
know.
get
Mindy.
right.
Yeah,
I'm like, come on,
I
guys,
know.
let the viewers soak on it for a year or two that she might not have made it, but she comes
Yes.
bouncing in like it was a scratch.
Nothing happened. Big nobody deal. And she's like, "Oh, the
Yeah.
meds are these good meds."
And I'm like,
Like,
what happened?
really?
Did we run out of money? Did we just have to sew this thing up at 89 minutes? Where we go here, guys? So
True.
yeah, they did
I
it.
I share those same frustrations with you on that part.
Yeah,
Everyone lives. Like somebody needs to die. This is a horror movie, you know.
yeah, great. Everybody lives. I get it. Okay. Then how about they barely live? So we don't quite
Right?
know if they lived until
Yeah.
7 gets here. Right?
Fair.
Don't make it all neat and clean and stick a band-aid on that. Those
Super
guys,
happy ending. Yeah.
yeah. It was too clean after all that great violence, and the film did well. I liked it. It was a fun
Mhm.
movie.
It's very
Uh,
fun. I like it as well.
you
But
know,
yeah, that's valid, man. And speaking of a new Scream movie, Lady Luna has sent in a $5 super chat, and she says, "It's an honor to have you here, Lee. Thank you for joining us. Would you ever make an appearance in a new Scream movie?"
I would love to. So thanks, Luna, for that. I appreciate it. Um, yeah, I've been, and then there's plenty of the Scream Nation, as I affectionately call all these people. There's plenty of push for that. I don't know if the brothers ever catch wind of it. Of course, and I'm a straight shooter. I'm an old school straight shooting guy. And even if they were on there, I'm like, guys, I hated your ending. It was too clean, right? I would sit there and bust their balls about it. But that's how I spun it. And that's the great thing. Here we are talking movies. Some people are like, best movie ever. I'm like, yeah, it was a great, solid Scream movie. I'm glad that they got
Yeah.
Ghostface back to being the kick-ass individual that he is. And because like when I portray that character, he comes with an attitude. You saw it in number 2, the way that Alan portrayed it.
Hmm.
You saw it like when I did the car sequence in 2, that whole middle car sequence,
Oh,
right? That
yes.
was all aggression. And like that's how I play that character. So I liked how 6 got back to that. And 6 was a fun movie. But if the brothers were here and they're chiming in, I'm like, guys, don't put a bow on it. Let those audience think about it for 24 months. Did they make it or not? And then how cruel would it have been? Let's say 7 gets here. If they would
Hmm.
have made it so peachy queen,
Yeah.
nice, that you find somebody is dead. Like, hey, they didn't make it.
They didn't make it.
And they contemplate that for 2 years, and all of a sudden 7 comes out, and here they are at somebody's grave.
Oh, man.
What kind of impact would that be as compared to putting the bow on it where everybody comes dancing in with a flesh wound?
Well, we still have Gail Weathers in the hospital. Maybe Gail doesn't make it. I don't know.
Gail
I
will make
mean,
it.
I know. I think so too. I think I would do too.
Yeah. Courtney will be back. Yeah.
I think you're 100% right. Okay, guys, we're gonna start to close this down here because I know that we don't want to keep Lee too terribly long. He's already stayed an extra hour, which is incredibly generous. Um, so I'm going to say 5 more minutes. Is that cool, Lee? And then we'll call it a night. Is that all right? 5
Yeah.
minutes.
What time is it right now? I'm like
It's
8:05 on the West Coast.
yep. Yes, sir. Yep.
All right,
Is that
let's
all
go to
right?
8:15. We'll give everybody 10 more minutes. Wrap up at 8:15. Good.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's so sweet, man. Thank you. 10 more minutes, guys. So, yeah, Tim, I've got a couple questions I wanted to ask you also, and this is kind of because you said you did work on so many Wes Craven films, and were around him a lot. I just wanted to ask, like, if you had maybe your most favorite 1 or 2 favorite Wes Craven memories that you just always remember on set or even off set that you experienced personally or witnessed that you would like to share with us. Are there any that you'd like to share? You don't, if you don't have you want to keep them private, it's fine. But just was curious.
So there was there's a couple. So I enjoyed my time with Wes on Scream 1. And I've always enjoyed my time with Wes, but Scream 1 I had the most direct interaction because we were giving birth to a new character, right? I liked working with him
Yeah.
on Nightmare 1, which was my first outing with him. And that was great because, I got to work very closely with him and Tony about this burn sequence and, do that whole thing.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot, and, it was great interaction right there. So those are great memories. And then he had a dry sense of humor. Like the running joke is he would tell a joke on Monday, I would laugh on Friday. Everybody else would laugh like on Tuesday, but I was the slow guy, so I'd laugh on Friday. And so I really enjoyed those kind of memories because he was very dry sense of humor, a lot of laugh. So that was always fun. And, the subtleties along the way that I would get a chance to eavesdrop or watch over his shoulder as he's putting a sequence together. He always was gracious about that. I always minded my manners because it wasn't my place to be in Video Village over his shoulder, but every once in a while I could sneak in there and watch what was going on, especially if it had action or there was an action sequence because, I had access to that in a sense. So
Yeah.
those memories are always good. I like that.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And of all of the sequences you did film in Scream 1, was there a favorite that you recall that that was the one that was your most fond memory of doing? That was your favorite scene or to do in the first film?
Yeah. So if we dissected the first one,
Mm-hmm.
the best part was out of that opening sequence with Drew, right?
Okay.
The best part of that for me, because it took us a couple of days to get all that knocked out. I liked how it felt from my point of view when I was chasing her down, right? And then to see it from the reverse in slow motion, it was really fun because I remember that vividly because it was it wasn't stressful in the sense like, okay, don't trip on wardrobe, hit your mark, don't stab Drew, make sure you stab Drew. And there was a whole lot of components to it. So it was very busy. For as simple as it looks, there was, from being in the mask, trying to do my job as a stunt man / actor and hit my marks and not hurt the talent and all this stuff. It was busy. So it was fun. Right?
Yeah.
And so that was cool. I enjoyed that one shot out of that whole opening sequence, because
chasing her down.
Yeah, because when I could look back at that, I could actually see that from my point of view vividly, looking through that stupid mask with that tunnel vision that occurs when you put those things on, right?
Yeah.
And thinking to myself, I'm like, how am I going to hit that mark? And how am I going to look at her? And you could, and it looks so cool on film when I crank her neck back and stab her, but you could see me roll my head just enough to where I could really see the mark where I needed to stab her, right? It wasn't easy. But because it wasn't easy, it was fun. Does that make sense?
Yes, indeed. And you hit it, right?
Right. You can't mail that one home. There was
no.
There was a lot of moving parts as far as hit your mark, grab her, stab her, all that stuff. And you got to remember, we're not shooting in slow. Even though we shot in slow motion, it happened in real time.
Exactly.
It wasn't a very long run. It looks long, but when you see it like the behind the scenes, it was quick.
Wow.
Right? It was 20, 30 feet. It wasn't a long haul, And when she took off like a rabbit, I had to run her down in time to get to that mark and not be behind her, not be in front of her. So,
So
the fact that we pulled that off in like 2 takes was impressive.
I was going to say, that is impressive because did you guys talk about that? Did you and Drew say because is she running at a certain pace so she doesn't outrun you, or is she just going and you just have to catch up?
Yeah, she had a lot of energy. If you watch the sequence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you watch the behind the scenes reel where you should see everything in real time. Yeah, she was moving. She wasn't walking.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then I'm trying to run her down, but also give Wes what he wants as far as moving. And you'll see how I'm running and I have my arms outside a little bit so you can get that. Remember, we're shooting in slow motion. So he sees this in his brain. He wants to see that wardrobe moving and wrapping and flowing. And to run like that, it's a little counterintuitive. You don't see people run with their arms out like that, so to speak.
Right.
So, there's certain elements that came into play with it all.
Wow. What an awesome thing, man. It's just incredible. All right, a little different question. Was there a what you would consider funny or an unexpected moment that happened that you can recall during filming that movie? Like something that just, caught you off guard. You weren't expecting it. Just a quirky thing that we would never, ever guess that happened.
You'll see it in like the behind the scenes film. It's like when, Drew would go in and out of character. Like, I'd be chasing her down and catch her and everything. And, she jumps up like she's coming off a gymnastics pit. And it's, that was cute. And we all kind of laughed at it. And, things like that. And, and I like that because it was lightheartedness under a heavy scene.
Sure.
And I'm in wardrobe, right? I got, long sleeves on and pants and this big old burlap thing. And man, I'm sweating. And of course, when we're shooting, it was dark 30 and it was cold. You could see your breath. Look at Wes. He's got a jacket on. Look to the guy left of Wes. He's got a jacket on, right?
That's right.
It was cold, legitimately cold. You could see your breath.
Wow.
And Drew's running around barefooted in a pair of pants with this sweater on. And she's cold, man. And she didn't show it.
Wow. Yeah. Consummate professionals. Both of you.
Yeah. She was great to work with. I appreciated her.
All right, man. 2 more questions from me, and then I'm going to let everybody know how they can follow you. I've got your website and your Instagram here that I will share. And then I'm going to ask you about upcoming conventions. We want to make sure everyone knows where they can come meet you. So
that would be great because that's what it's all about, man. I love doing the conventions and meeting everybody. It's just hilariously fun and so fulfilling.
Yes,
we get to sit down, and everybody goes to conventions. Sure, there's lines, and I can't sit down for 2 hours and tell these stories, but I still get time with the fans, And what's so cool now is Scream's old enough, just like Halloween 45 years for Halloween, right? So Scream's 25, 26, 26 and a half, 7. Let's call it 27.
27,
right?
yeah.
So now when I meet people at these great conventions and things like that, I'm seeing it's generational, right?
Man.
I get plenty of people that come up and go, oh, you wrecked my life when I was 16. I didn't sleep for a month. And of course, I'm laughing, signing stuff as you hear me say, like, yeah, I'm signing babies and kissing posters. And
that's funny.
They're like, I'll be talking to mom, right, who was 16 maybe when she saw this movie or was like 8 or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, now I'm talking to her and her kids.
That's right.
Now I'm talking to grandma, mom, and grandkids. So it's generational at this point, which is really cool. I love that.
It's so cool, man. And I mean, Lee, I'll tell you a story super quick. Like, and that applies to me myself as well. Because when I saw Scream, I saw it a couple of weeks after it came out in the theaters. Right. And like the first week of January, I went to see it. Changed my life forever. It was literally did. And instantly became my favorite movie, and it still is. Well, anyway, I was in my late let me think for a second. It was in my mid upper 20s, mid 20s. So now I'm getting old. I'm pushing 50. And so I've got a group. My daughter's about to be 13. And I introduced her finally to all the Scream films, over the last few months.
Right.
She absolutely loves them. She's memorized the lines from Scream.
Of course.
We can quote the script to each other. We sometimes do. And, if it was a situation where, when one day comes when I'm able to meet you in person as well at one of these conventions, I'll be bringing my daughter as well. And it's generational.
And I will happily, we'll do a little sidebar, go grab coffee in the morning or something. I'll just sign you just a ton of stuff.
Oh, man,
we'll
Lee. That is absolutely fantastic, man. So that's so cool.
And that's what I do. I love carrying the flag. I love carrying that torch of the original Ghostface. I love that Ghostface is in a healthy place again. He's come out of the dark ages, so to speak.
He has.
Yeah. And I love being part of the Scream Nation and horror fan at heart. And, I love doing the cons, but I like going to cons as a horror fan. Even if I get recognized and people want stuff and that's cool. I'll do that. But like I was out in SoCal last month, whenever they had Monster Mania, right?
Okay. Yep.
And, I just went over there and I did some signing at one of my art buddies, Adam's Art Box, and he does super cool art stuff, and he brought me in, right, and he did a one-off piece for a con that's coming up. So we signed some stuff, but it was so cool. I could go there, get all that out of the way, and then go be a fan and just walk away, walk around, check out the vendors, check out all the, there's other celebrities there that I know, and stop by and say hi and just, line bash and make everybody laugh and have a good time.
Oh, man.
So it's cool to go as a fan. I mean, I love signing stuff and interacting with the Scream Nation, but it's really nice to be able to not be tied to the booth, right?
Yeah.
And just go check out all the cool vendors, man. God, they're so talented, right? The vendors just have this awesome stuff.
They do.
And to geek out and be a horror fan. I love being able to do that. And so it's nice to, before the cons start, that I get a chance to walk around and talk to the vendors. And, when you do cons, and depending on what side of the United States you're on, it's this one happy caravan traveling families. Because I know vendors that I see at 3 or 4 cons a year, right? And then if I'm East Coast, I see the East Coast guys 3 or 4 times. So it's really neat to see. Like, and it kind of goes back. It takes me back to when I was making movies. Maybe I don't see this key grip for 2 years, and all of a sudden we're in the same place at the same time. It's so cool to catch up. Because that one time you guys worked together for 6 months on a film. It's very much the same vibe.
So cool. Yeah. So it's kind of like a reunion and with friends, and it's meeting people you've wanted to meet too, and
Absolutely.
then you get the fans. It's like a combination of stuff. It's such a cool thing.
And it's really cool to see the same faces, once a year, every 2 years, and
yeah.
And then to see them on like Instagram. So I'm a big Instagram. I hate social media. It's not my style. I'm a very private guy, very humble. I don't like that aspect. But so I use Instagram and one reason I like Instagram is because I can sit there and be very interactive with the fan base and the horror family and the horror genre.
True.
So that's why I like it, because it's easy to communicate. And people like, and I'm like, no, I run my own accounts. I take care of my own business.
Nice.
Now, I have a team that supports me, with content and everything like that.
Yeah.
They're super effective. But I answer my own mail. So
yes, you do. That's awesome, right? Man.
So like when people reach out on Instagram, if somebody responds, it's me. And I try to get back to everybody. And there's sometimes I just can't do it because of the load. Right. I mean, it's crazy.
Sure. Yeah.
Wow. So like when you're on Instagram, if you see me on there, you're talking to me. I don't make any qualms about that. That's how I stay connected. And not only obviously to Scream Nation, but to horror in general. And because I see I got cool shirts, I get right. Because I'm like, that's a cool shirt. And I'll know the vendor, like, give me one, man. I'll buy it on the spot.
Yeah. That's so admirable, man. Because, a lot of people, a lot of people don't, you don't know who you're talking to, gatekeepers, you never even actually reach the real person. And
but it's not just me. Like Jamie Kennedy, if you reach out to Jamie, you get Jamie, right?
Yeah.
And he and I chit chat a lot on Instagram, and we know we're talking to each other because he takes care of his own affairs.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
he seems really authentic too, like a very real.
Oh, he's the real deal. Yeah. Absolutely. I really dig hanging out with him when we get a chance to be together and do what we do. So he's the real deal, and I really appreciate his company and his insights. He's a smart cookie. He's been in the game a long time.
Yes. Man,
different hats too. So I appreciate his company, and he's just stupidly funny.
Yes, he is. He's quick. Oh, he is so quick. That stand-up comedian. He's got that quickness, man. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. If you ever get a chance to see him and his stand-up, very quick-witted, and he circles back on people just ruthlessly. He'll say something at the beginning and bring it full circle on somebody like 60 minutes later. It's hilarious.
Yes,
love watching his timing.
I do too. And I've seen hecklers try. I'm like, oh, you just did the wrong thing, because he's relentless. He will just, oh man, you will not beat him. You will not beat him.
It takes most of those stand-ups used to hecklers. It comes with the territory. So beating a stand-up guy heckling is a tough. You better be on your A game.
Yes, indeed.
And so very seldom do you ever see a heckler really get in front of a stand-up and go toe-to-toe. Usually he gets shut down pretty well. So,
really quick. Yes.
Yeah, and then if he comes back for round 2 and never gets shut down, the audience is like, okay, you had your fun, shut up. Let's get back to having laughs.
Yeah, or they or get escort security.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's self-correct,
Yeah.
And here's the beauty of horror fans and Scream Nation. Scream Nation defends Ghostface, and in a sense defends me. I've had people jump on my case about like the original K&B mask, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they've said some pretty silly things, and like,
Man.
I don't respond. I don't hit negatives with negatives. I'll just like not play anything, and I don't have to, because the Scream Nation, somebody will step up and put in the correct verbiage to put a correction on somebody's ignorance.
Absolutely.
and this like, oh, I stand corrected. I'm like, yeah. And it's usually, I mean, so that's what's so cool about the Scream Nation. It's very supportive.
Yes.
And they don't let anybody screw with Ghostface, and not, me personally, but
yeah,
it's like, no, if you're gonna come in here, have your facts straight.
You better have them straight and be ready to defend them, and have them in order.
Yeah, and I don't even hit a keyboard. I mean, they'll just take care of business. But that's what I love about the Scream Nation, because they support each other and they love the character of Ghostface and Wes. They just, and sure, they talk about Billy and Stu and all the other variables, but that's the part of the genre. That's the fun stuff, right?
That's the fun stuff, right? Yeah.
I'm a Billy dude. I think I think he did the whacking and stacking. People are like, yeah, Stu's still alive. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
because I know how Wes shot.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to go on forever about that. And that's
right.
And I love that.
It should be. Same here, Lee. It makes for great discussion, theories. I mean, it's the way, like you said, the way it should be. It's so much fun, and at the end of the day, it's all our own. It's all our opinions and preferences, and it's just for fun discussion. As long as I always say it like this here on this channel. I always say, what matters most are people. People matter more than opinions and anything else. As long as you put people first, then everything else will be fine. We respect each other, and that's what counts, right? That's what counts. And then we can talk about our different opinions and be fine about it. And it's okay, to disagree.
Yeah, I mean,
we can still be friends.
I get plenty of people going, Billy, like, yeah. I mean, because look how he looks out. I mean, he's the haymaker, man. He stabs people and guts them. Like, no, but Stu and and they had a relationship. I'm like, yeah, but Billy and Stu have this weird relationship dichotomy thing going on, right? I'm like,
right.
Yeah. So, it's so fun to debate that and to stir it up and just to laugh about it. And what's so cool about cons, about horror fans and Scream Nation, is that everybody's just flying their flag and having fun, right?
Yes, that's right.
Nobody gets too wound up about this stuff,
mm-hmm.
and at least that I've seen. I mean, we just and you'll see, you see how I said, I was like, man, I love the people. And when I say, yeah, I love you, and I mean it. I love the Scream Nation. I love being a horror fan. I love being part of that whole crazy world that we're all part of.
It's a great community.
Like, have fun, man. And that's what it is. And the great thing about horror cons is that you have permission in a safe environment and loving environment to fly your freak flag. Bring it.
Yeah.
Bring it.
That's right.
Bring it and fly it. Represent.
Yeah.
Have fun with it.
That's right. It's a safe
place. For those
place.
3 days, and for those 3 crazy days of that circus, nobody cares. They're just like, hey, cool cause, cool outfit, cool everything. Bring it, right?
Yeah.
And you don't get judged a lot at those places,
It's true, man.
I don't judge people there. I'm just happy to be there and just having a blast with the whole circus. It's so fun.
Well, speaking of which, I know we talked about one earlier. Do you, let everybody know. Do you have some conventions you'd like to share now that are coming up soon, where they can come see you?
I'm super busy and super blessed to be busy all the way throughout the end of the year.
Nice.
Yeah. My super agent, Sean Clark.
Mr.
Thing with 2 heads and malfunction, who represents, he does my booking, and he's just like, hey, we're going here. And I'm like, all righty, let's show up.
That's awesome.
So, yeah. And he's been in the game a long time and knows everybody. And, he's the and he's the real deal. You want to talk about a super horror fan.
Yeah.
You know, his collection's deep and big and real, and I mean it's impressive. But you know, he's the big push on Halloween 45 coming up in Pasadena in what, October, right? And I think the big reunion.
Yes, it
So
is. Yes, it
that's
is.
his baby. That's he runs that thing, you know.
I
So
wonder if Jamie Lee's coming. I haven't heard about
I
Jamie
keep
Lee.
squeezing him, man. He's not tipping the hat on that one. Usually I could bribe him over lunch and get some intel, but he's playing that one close to the vest. He's
Man.
not letting me know. But I hope she is.
I know. It would be so
I hope she
amazing.
is. So let's talk about August, like the 90-day snapshot. So I shoot up to August. I think it's 3, 4, 5. First week in August is Chicago Flashback Weekend.
Okay.
I'm going to be hanging out with Jamie and Skeet up there. Dick Warlock will be up there with me, and I love Dick.
Nice.
So within that, and then I zip back home and run over and do Houston Horror Fest, which is the next weekend. And then after I finish up that, zip up to Denver, which is the first time I've been in Colorado, right?
Oh,
It's
cool.
much less Denver. I mean, yes, I've been up there personally. I've shot up there and everything else, but to be up there doing a con. So first time in Colorado, first time in Denver. We're doing Crypticon Denver.
Okay.
Third week of August. Then I take a deep breath, and then I'm back out to SoCal in September for Creepy Eye. It's the Creep IE con guys. They're doing Aftermath. And super special about that one is they're doing a screening of Scream 1 in 16 mil. So that'll be the first time I actually seen Scream on film since we shot it and I saw it in the theaters and at the premiere. So they're having a special screening. They got licensing. The Frida group, who does historical film, is sponsoring it and projecting it.
Oh, wow.
And so they're going to be doing that screening there that week, and I'm hopefully I'll be the MC on that. So how cool that'll be, right? So
wow.
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
So if that all comes to fruition, I'm super excited about that. And I want to sit down and watch it in film stock again. And not VHS, not digital,
film.
100% film.
Whoa.
And then I think the week before that, where I'm going to go back to the East Coast real quick and do a thing called Haunted Screams Expo, which is back there in Hampton, Virginia.
Oh,
and
wow.
What's cool about that one, that's a full-on festival, man. That's like car show, band, corn maze for the kids, tattoos, everything. And there's only like 13. He's not real big celebrity heavy on that.
Okay.
Which so it's a whole family weekend, and if you're like, yeah, go get an autograph, great. But that's not what it's about. It's not like all autographs, all celebrity, all that stuff, which is great. I mean, there's cons that do that.
Yeah.
But this is like this little 2-day, rave party of just fun. And I'm like, so I'm like, great. I'll be hanging out at the VIP party on this one, right?
Yeah, man.
And, so
different vibe.
Yeah. And it's the usual original Ghostface stuff. I'm going to be, doing wristbands at all the cons, and got stuff for the kids this year, some giveaway stuff and, coloring stuff and, the usual circus that rolls in when Ghostface comes into town. So I like to have fun with it, and I super appreciate, the fans. So I support them as much as I can. And, we're doing some vendor stuff this year with some of the local vendors. That's, we call it a double line hopper. So if the cons have been super supportive. So like if I'm co-branding with a vendor, like in Chicago, I got 2 of them, right? Mm-hmm. If you buy any of their Scream art pieces, right, you come up to me, show me that piece, right? I'll cut you right to the front line. I don't care if there's a VIP, it's my line, right to the front.
Oh,
so it's like a double line hopper. So, because I want to support those people that want to go support those local vendors. And if they have something that I want to sign, like, would you just buy that? Yeah, bring it over here, man. Like
that's
kids
smart.
Kids don't wait in my line. Disability veterans don't wait in my line. No,
nice.
Wait, man. It's
that's so cool, man.
Yeah, anybody that put on your uniform that made this great country of ours. Yeah, I don't, this country's having some hard times, but you ain't gonna wait in my line. Get up here, right?
Man, that's awesome, man. I think that's how it should be. I really do. That's so cool.
Absolutely.
That you care enough to do it that way, man. Because not everybody does.
Dude, yeah. Like I said, I'm not. I love doing Scream. I love doing horror and all that stuff, but I'm a realist. Also, like both sides of my family are strong military. So
Nice.
I'm a big supporter of that, and
Yeah.
I'm special. Okay. So I did some. I have currently a really cool job, which is this, right? I have a really cool job being a stunt man and doing some big jobs. That's a cool job. I love that. Okay. So, to be able to represent that and have fun, it's just, like I said, just love everybody. Come on out. Let's have a good time. And, kiss posters and sign babies and get some tattoos and just
there you go.
have a good time, man. So,
Oh, well, listen, guys, Lee's went to a lot of festivals. I mean, and conventions and a festival.
yeah,
Be
I like
sure.
those little pop-ups. Those it's really cool to like go in. 3-day cons are great. They're big and fun and crazy and super fans. And see 10,000 people. I love that.
Yeah.
But some of these like 1 day or 2-day pop-up type things that are smaller format.
Yeah.
Are really super special because you don't have 10,000 people. Maybe it's only 1,000 people, right?
Yeah.
But I get to have more time and interact and talk stories and sign stuff and hang out with 3 generations, right? And then,
True.
and so it's a whole different vibe, and I love doing them. So it doesn't matter if we're doing, Monster Mania with 40,000 people over 3 days, full throttle, crazy party mayhem, or like, hey, come in for the day and sign stuff and, hang out with some really cool local fans and just sign stuff and talk. And, I love that too. It doesn't matter to me. It's just really cool experience. I'm so cool. It's so cool to be able to do it and to be a part of it.
Well, man, and listen, it's cool to us. So I just always remember that. As cool as it feels to you to be in that position, I'm telling you right now, speaking on behalf of myself, and I know the community for my channel, we feel the same way. Like when you're here, like tonight, this has been a pure joy for us and a real treasure. And it's never, it changes the way we watch the movie now, because every time I watch, and I've seen Scream 100 some odd something, way over 100 times. And now when I watch that movie,
I can't say I've seen it that many times.
let me tell you,
can't say I've done 100. Maybe I don't know. I'll say twice a year for 25 years. So I could be, maybe I'll give you 50.
Hey, that's still great. But yeah, I'm definitely, between 1 and 200 at this point. And, but this will change how I watch it from now on, this experience. And
yeah, I mean, and it's funny because every time I watch it, and what's so cool about the Scream Nation and horror and listen to some, there is some hardcore collector historians on that movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And every once in a while I'll catch some like behind the scenes thing, and I'm like, no, really? And I'm like, yeah, go watch it. I'm like, and sure enough, this like artifact will be in there. I'm like, God, I never knew that. I think the one of them that I found out maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe, I don't know, is that when I'm doing the scene with Henry Winkler, he opens up the closet and his original leather jacket from Happy Days was in there.
Yes, it is.
And I'm like, really? He goes, yeah. So I went back and watched it. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. I wish I would have known that on the day. I would have totally fanboyed out and got a picture of him with the jacket on.
Yeah.
So maybe it was good that I didn't see these things at that time. So stuff like that is really cool. A lot of people didn't realize that Wes took a lot of his influence from Hitchcock, right? And so that's why Wes would put himself in front of the camera, even though he would be in character or disguise, he was in front of the camera a lot.
Love that.
Yeah.
Cameos in all those movies, man. And when he dressed up as Freddy Krueger, I mean, he created the character and he's dressed as the character he created in his own movie he's making is just like layer upon layer of meta. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was, and we all, I'd still laugh about that. We had a laugh on the day when he did that, like, what's he doing? Like, that's great, because here we are, we shot, oh God, when did we shoot? When was when was Nightmare 1 made?
It was released in 84.
Yeah, so right after that, I mean, here we are. So let's say they released in 84, they probably shot it in 84 or 83. And then here we are, giving tribute to Wes by Wes, in 80. We shot in 95 is when we shot Scream 1.
Okay.
Got released in 96. And then we turned right around and went into number 2 in 96. And I think and it got released late 96 because we wanted to hit the Christmas spirit by giving us a slasher film.
December 20th. Yep.
So yeah, I look back at it retrospectively from Nightmare 1 to Scream 1. There's almost a 10-year run in there.
Yeah. Man, just wow. Unbelievable. And guys, I see that Val, the general, my great moderator Val, has been putting links in the chat for Lee's contact. You can follow him at www.originalghostface.com. And all you got to do is click the link. It's in the chat now, and it will take you to his website. Be sure you go check it out. It's really cool. Bookmark it so you don't lose it, and you'll save it and check it out. But that's not all. You can also follow Lee over on Instagram at _Lee_Waddell. And Val has also put that in the chat. So you can see.
Val.
Yep, Val has got you covered, and it's all there for you to just simply click and go and be sure you all go over and follow Lee on Instagram
absolutely, and I appreciate that because I'm active on Instagram almost daily. Right, my website gets updated, every month, for the most part, every 2 weeks, but Instagram. Linktree on my Instagram. That's where, if you want to find out what's going on in my world, just go there because I'm a hyper promoter. My job is to promote these cons to get people through the door so the cons are successful, get the fans, they know where I'm at. So I'm successful. The fans are successful. My vendors that I co-brand with, it's all, like I said, it's all a big love fest. So very proactive about letting people know where I will be and what we're doing. So if you want to keep up with me, go to Instagram.
Definitely. And guys, if you're in any of these cities or within, travel distance, even, a few hours drive even of these cities, of these cons, it's worth it. Go and drive. It's going to be worth your dollars and your time to see Lee, meet him, get an autograph, get a picture. You see how amazing he is right here tonight. And you get a chance to meet him face to face and tell him, hey, you saw him here on the Craven stream. And
there you go.
You guys can pick right up here. And also, Lee and I will be coordinating offline. We'll be communicating to try to look at schedules to try to figure out when in August we can figure out a time that will work for the Scream 1 watch party where Lee can come back.
That'll be fun. We got to do that.
Yes, that is so. I can't wait. I'm already excited about it. And Lee teased earlier. We won't do it now because we are beyond way over on our time with Lee tonight. But Lee teased earlier that he was going to share some Scream 2 never before stories and information. So we'll save that for the watch party.
Yeah, there you go.
That way, maybe before we start the movie, maybe Lee, if you're cool with that, you can share that information. Then we'll tease it and continue that at the party, if that's cool.
That'd be great. Yeah, we'll see if those schedules will work out. I'll try it. So
okay,
everybody that tuned in, and thanks for going deep with us. We went a heck of a lot longer than we thought, but hey, way cool is that. We were just talking and loving having fun with it. So everybody that tuned in and thanks for jumping on here and asking all those great questions. And I'll see you guys out there, hopefully on the con. Swing on by, say hi, and we'll be talking soon.
Yes, definitely. And everyone is saying goodbye and thanks here in the chat. I wish I could put it on the screen, but Horror B saying thank you to Lee for taking the time and sharing so much. This was awesome. Thanks, Craven, for putting this together. Have a good night, everyone. That's awesome. And Lady Luna says it's definitely been an honor, and it changes the way I enjoy the movie in the best way.
That's great. I love that.
So cool.
Yeah. So like, how cool is all these great people like tuning in to watch us chit chat about the movie and talk about Wes? I love this. This is super cool.
It will. Scott says I will certainly follow you, Lee.
Appreciate it.
Lady Luna, it was so iconic to have you join us. Val says thank you so much for spending time with us tonight. It's such a great time. My good friend Ken over at Sledgehammer Horror.
Yeah, Sledgehammer.
And Ken helped bring us together, Lee.
Yeah,
he's helped introduce us together.
Yeah. So like, there's a great example of how cool the community is, right?
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, I did this. I'm like, oh, you got to talk to this guy. I'm like, yeah, plug me in, and here we are.
It's so true, Ken. Hey, Ken, thanks for being here, Ken. He says this was awesome. Appreciate that. Russell says thank you, Lee, for joining us.
Yeah.
Lady Luna says it's an honor to have you as part of the best horror family around. Thanks for being here.
I agree. Thank you, Luna.
Joshua says thanks for doing this. I mean, it just keeps going on and on. And there's tons of my Cravenites who are my channel members. They're called Cravenites. And they're blasting my custom emoji I put in of Ghostface mask in honor of you. The Ghostface mask everywhere.
So is it a K&B?
Actually, no, this was not the KMB. But it's not their fault. It's the only one I have uploaded. It's my fault. It's the only one I've got in there right now. Yeah. But I need to get a KMB in there so I can have the old school classic in there. I got to do that.
It is. I'm actually pretty ferocious about the KMB.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Only because there's, as far as I know, I'm the only guy who ever wore the KMB, right? So it's very special.
Yes. Absolutely.
And so I love repping the KMB, and you can't get KMBs, right? There's some one-off guys and very limited, availability, but I got a wall full of Gen 1, Gen 2 knockoff stuff. KMB's a little bit rougher to get,
Absolutely, man. That's
very
special.
I love being, doing the KMB. So like, the jacket that I did, you saw the original Ghostface jacket that I made it, and that's a KMB. So,
oh man,
I like being, if we're gonna do original, let's do original.
Let's do it. Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna try to get a really good screenshot of that KMB mask blown up so I can get it just right for the little emoji size, and gotta have it, man.
Go over to my Instagram and look way back in my history, and there's some really clean shots of the KMB.
Oh, good. Okay, thank you.
My mask that got custom made for me to do my photo ops, right? That's a 98% accuracy KMB reproduction.
Perfect.
Yeah,
that's what I need right there.
Go on my IG and just go way back in my history, and you'll see it's a one-off, squared off shot, and just steal that one. If you can't, then let me know and I'll just send it to you.
Okay, thank you, man. That's awesome. Well, now I know how I can get the custom. I'll get it done here in a couple of days. Once I get the picture, I'll get it on there. We'll have the OG mask. So good.
And brag about it, man. Brag about it. Like,
heck yeah, I sure will.
You're gonna have the OG, have the OG icon. So I love it.
Yes. And I'll show it to you when you come back for the watch party. I'll say, there
Absolutely.
it is on screen. All right, guys. Well, Lee, I'll meet you backstage. Just hang tight.
Yeah.
And for everyone in the chat, thank you all for being here. Thank you for your generous super chats and support. Oh, now the chat's working again in StreamYard.
Oh, yeah, just came back up.
Just came back up at the end. Go figure. But yeah, thank you guys so much for being here tonight. This was an amazing interview discussion with Lee. And Lee, thank you again one more time for your generosity and for being here and all of this amazing extra time that you gave tonight. It's just incredible. Thank you so much, man.
My pleasure. And like I said, it's an honor, and I love these people, and I love Ghostface. So thank you.
My pleasure. My honor. Seriously. All right, guys. I'll see you all very soon on the next video and on the next live stream. So until then, one more time, guys, it's Craven Something Scary, where it's all horror all the time. We'll see you soon, guys. Good night for now. Bye-bye.
Peace. We love you.